Part 21. Restarting the Myth. Author, Feng Chao Huang. Chapter 201. Night, Wayne's house. Willie hummed a tune as she passed by the study. When she reached the end of the corridor, she tiptoed back to the study, held her breath and lay outside the door to eavesdrop. There was no soundproof barrier, and she could clearly hear the conversation in the study. It was a very formal tutoring class, without any noise. Willie frowned in confusion. Her intuition told her that the senior sister had a big problem recently, but she investigated several times and it seemed that there was no problem. It shouldn't be. Maybe the senior sister is a good girl, neither fighting nor competing, but she is so beautiful and doesn't know how to refuse. There is no reason for Wayne not to take action every day. It must be that the investigation was not thorough enough. Willie decided to listen again. If she found evidence, she would report it to Veronica immediately. When the two strong people competed, she could reap the benefits. Just thinking about it, footsteps came from the stairs. FLA stood at the corner of the corridor with a smile on her face, silently, and quietly watched Willie lying on the door and eavesdropping. Willie smiled awkwardly, pointed inside the house, made two gestures, and then slid away. FLA smiled and shook her head, mission accomplished, and returned to the first floor. In the study room, the student respected the teacher, pressed the tutor on the textbook, and traveled through mountains and rivers to confide the pain of lovesickness. Chris was angry and amused, pushed the pervert's face away from her chest, and pointed to the door. "Why don't you let Willie hear clearly? Do you have any thoughts about her?" As expected of a senior sister, she is really smart. Wayne shook his head with a serious face. "Chris, you wronged me. Even a blind man can see that it is Willie who has feelings for me. If I hadn't been strict with myself, my first kiss would have been taken away by her long ago, and you wouldn't have gotten it. So what? So Willie lost her parents at a young age. She is pitiful and cute. If she knew that we were together, she would definitely be very sad. I can't bear to hurt her. I will keep it a secret for as long as I can." Wayne buried his head and lied. Chris's face gradually turned red. She muttered a lie. It took a lot of effort to push Wayne away, tidy up her messy clothes, and told the students to listen carefully and not to touch the teacher in class. Chris knew exactly what Wayne was thinking. The enemy Veronica was already defeated, and little Willie was vulnerable. She was in a good mood and was too lazy to expose Wayne's lies. Rather than Wayne's lies, it is more like Chris's inner thoughts. She is too kind. In order to take care of Willie's mood, she is unwilling to reveal her cards when she has an absolute advantage, hoping that Willie will find out and quietly withdraw. With her personality, if she really becomes the lady of Wayne's house, there will definitely be a lot of colorful flags outside. "The high priest asked me to bring you a message. There is something important to find you. You are asked to go to the library." Recently, after 30 minutes of delay, Chris finally finished today's class. "What else did Huang Jun say?" Wayne raised his eyebrows. "Why did Philomena look for him? It's cold, and she wants to have a hot drink." "No, it should be something else." Wayne suddenly remembered that Philomena had mentioned that he needed to assist her in the promotion to a legendary wizard. Calculating the time, it's almost time. Once it comes to magic, Wayne is full of energy. "I'll arrange the time and tell the high priest that I'll be there at any time, even if I don't sleep in the middle of the night." "What does the high priest want you for?" Chris asked curiously. "What else can you do?" "Seduce me." "Is it related to the Ministry of Magic?" Chris didn't believe it. Wayne's words had to be interpreted in reverse. If he said seduced, there was definitely no seduction. It should be a very important matter. Even if the high priest had such a few tricks, it would be an exaggeration to say that she seduced. "That's about right." Wayne said it in passing. He also had the task of being the image ambassador of the Ministry of Magic. Because the traitor orb was found out, the Moonlight Church happened to be arguing with the Ministry of Magic. Both sides were very busy. Recently, he didn't have to punch in and serve Philomena every day. Wayne performed very well before. When he was a tour guide, he blocked Philomena's mouth, giving the Ministry of Magic a chance to breathe at the negotiation table. If it's useful, use it to the death. It's conceivable that there will be long-term tasks and image ambassador tasks to be done. As a goodwill of the Ministry of Magic, Wayne connected with Philomena, and then changed the attitude of the Moonlight Church through the latter. If possible, the Ministry of Magic hopes that this is a long-term, effective, and soul-deep physical connection. It would be best to replicate the classic case of Orb and turn Philomena into Doreen. Oh, there's one more thing. Chris opened the drawer, mysteriously took out a poster, and spread it out in front of Wayne. The movie King Kong is about to be released. This movie started shooting in August, and the shooting progress was rushed for 2 months. It is scheduled to be released on December 15th. Newspapers and radio are promoting it, and it is also very well released in Windsor, Frank, Prussia and other places. It is shoddy. He thinks the props are average, the leading actors are not professional actors, the deadline is rushed, the script is repeatedly revised during the shooting, and the director uses the art film method to shoot commercial films. After so many things, it is a failure. Apart from Wayne's later views, in this era, it is good to have a monster movie to watch. Why pick so many? You are so picky, go eat fish. What kind of movie is this? Especially the sponsor of this film, Austin, invested a lot of money. At that time, Austin disliked Wayne in many ways. Although it is still the same now, it has improved a little. Le.jpg. At that time, Austin tried every possible way to drive Wayne away. He started with a honey trap and chose the big star Lily Hayworth as the female lead. He was willing to spend money to achieve his goal. To be more precise, he did not plan to make money from this movie. The question is to contribute to the film industry. It's funny to say that Frank's intelligence organization did not invest much in Lily, and he didn't even tell her the truth about the world. She was a cannon fodder no matter how you look at it. If you lose, you won't lose. If you win, you will make a lot of money. There is an element of gambling. But this cannon fodder walked into Austin's vision and successfully deceived social garbage. Looking into the reason, Megan did not feel the fluctuation of magic in Lily, and regarded her as an ordinary person. Even if Lily deliberately approached Austin and made obvious moves, Megan regarded it as a normal performance of a female star wanting to improve. Back to the point, Austin spent a lot of money and vowed to let his wife and daughter see the ugly face of the little trash can, and expand his influence through the big screen to drive the little trash can away in one breath. Later, Austin changed his mind, but it was too late to take back the money. The evil plan with bad intentions created this huge investment monster-themed movie. Wayne looked at the movie poster with an embarrassed face. It might be that the director Wallace wanted to flatter him. He, the third male, successfully squeezed out the second male. The second generation on the poster was second only to the first male gorilla and the first female star. It had something to do with Wallace, but the main reason was that the sponsor spoke. After confirming that Wayne was the heir, Austin re-examined the movie and found that Wayne's character was too thin. He asked the director to find male and female stand-ins and only shoot the back and add a few scenes. With just a few strokes, a classic screen image of sacrificing life for love came to life on paper. In this era, the shocking power is no less than that of the male protagonist in The Broken Ship. Austin kept his merits and fame hidden, and everything was for the family. He did not tell Wayne about the changed plot, so when the latter was teased by Chris, he felt quite ashamed of social death. Chris covered her mouth and laughed secretly, kept asking about the filming process, and patted Wayne on the shoulder to say that he was going to be a big star. Wayne's old face turned red, and he couldn't bear to see Chris so proud, so he shut her up with a black tiger heart digger. Seeing that Wayne's movements were getting bigger and bigger, and he was quite angry, Chris hurriedly set up a soundproof barrier. She was still too kind and didn't take the opportunity to shout and declare territorial sovereignty. 20 minutes later, Wayne left the study refreshed and returned to the bedroom to start practicing. After gathering the 2 obelisk slabs in London, he had no scruples. If the sealed book was not too big to be stuffed directly into his chest, he dared to suck it all day and night. But first, Wayne held the ancient silver coin and sucked it. The obelisk was lost and found, and it was destined to be his property. The ancient silver coin was different. Schrödinger might come to the door at any time, and 2 hours of squeezing every day was essential. At this time, the silver cross in Wayne's body has taken shape, and nature, moonlight, and sun are growing vigorously. It won't be long before darkness and death can be added. Because the obelisk is in hand, the elemental fellow villagers are enough, and Wayne decides to add the holy light of heaven and the evil energy of hell in the next stage. Silver cross, God, life, emptiness, and me. The realm of a magician lies in balance. When God is divided into 7, the corresponding life essence, knowledge, and thinking must be elevated. This is a rather exaggerated accumulation. If it weren't for the obelisk, Wayne really didn't dare to play like this. There is no lack of knowledge of nature, sun, and moonlight. Heaven has the golden rule of angels, hell has the 7 deadly sins, and the house search also got popular science books. These 5 are considered stable. Death does not need to worry about God, and the golden triangle stage is more than enough. Only darkness is left. Wayne muttered to himself. He only has 1 dark ring and has not been exposed to much. It is enough to open the silver cross, but compared with several other beliefs, it is not enough. In order to prevent the shortboard from causing fatal weakness, it is necessary to find a strong man who is proficient in dark faith magic to lead the way, or pick up a powerful dark magic prop and plunder the knowledge contained in the Book of Greed. In the whole of London, the one who knows the most about darkness can only be the Dark Knight chosen by God. But as an ally of the Black Death, Wayne, the Death Knight, does not know the Dark Knight, and the first meeting is not pleasant. It is probably impossible to get help from the other party. As a second choice, the only suitable candidate is Planck. It can only be him, but he has not come to rob the ancient silver coins. I can't take the initiative to give it to him. Wayne secretly thought it was tricky. Taking the initiative is passive. He went to find Planck and Planck came to him. It was completely 2 concepts. Fortunately, I can wait. It's not so easy for me to take the initiative. I will suppress the darkness first and put the other beliefs on the process. Wayne closed his eyes, took a few hell books, and went to the basement to practice with one mind. He read a lot of books and asked his tutor Chris. Communicating with nature is limited to theory. Even if there are magicians who can do it, the requirements for realm and strength are quite strict. In other words, the silver magician should stop dreaming and meditate honestly with his feet on the ground. Wayne doesn't believe in evil. He really communicated with nature. It was a process in which the macro affects the micro, and the micro shapes the macro. Because of this short communication, he successfully advanced to the silver cross. There are only 0 and countless successes. He broke through 0 and got 1. If there is 1, there will be 2. Rounding up, countless times are just around the corner. It can be done. Open the book. December 8th, night. The second-floor bedroom of the Moonlight Church High Priest Manor. Wayne leaned against the bedside, holding a Moonlight Church's advanced textbook on faith magic and reading it repeatedly. The cover of the book was marked with a full moon. Unlike the abridged version of the Book of Moon Shadow, this advanced textbook has detailed records and does not have the thinking of a golden wizard. Readers may feel dizzy or have a splitting headache. Wayne read it with great interest. Philomena also read it with great interest, and said incoherently, You bastard, I asked you to find me in the library, why did you come to my house and walk down the sewer like a thief? Isn't this busy? Wayne took a breath of cold air, and then said, how is the Moonlight Church and the Ministry of Magic talking? Did you compromise, or did the Ministry of Magic compromise? Why, the priest of the Church of Nature wants to get information from me. Philomena looked up and licked the corner of her mouth. She didn't see her boyfriend's face, but only saw the full moon document. Her flirting was in vain. She snorted coldly and slapped the full moon document away. Look at me, don't read the book. Okay, look at the beauty. Wayne pressed his head. What's going on? Which side compromised? One step back. Philomena was vague. The Moonlight Church suffered heavy losses because of the traitors in the Ministry of Magic, although there was also the reason of Priest Doran. The Ministry of Magic agreed to my request. As long as I advance to the legendary wizard in London and conceal the news from my allies, the Ministry of Magic will turn a blind eye. The Ministry of Magic has been in trouble again recently. The negotiations suddenly loosened up at a critical moment. As far as I know, they have contacted the two churches of nature and the sun. Wayne frowned and listened. The recent chaos in the Ministry of Magic should be related to the Snow family incident. Not only the Queen, but also the legendary wizards have raised the carrier containers of the 7 demon kings. The Queen was a little panicked and continued the balance, allowing the Life Alliance to expand its power. No, it should be to strengthen the high-end combat power and allow the legendary wizards to enter Windsor. Be bolder, the Life Alliance will be strengthened, and the two churches of death and darkness will also usher in a version update. Windsor, the old balancer, will not let one party dominate. On the one hand, he will make small moves to divide the Life Alliance, and on the other hand, he will increase the external crisis of death and darkness. Playing so big, sooner or later, the 5 churches will backfire. What about the Heavenly Father Church, have they been interviewed? Speak. I don't want to talk about work now. Philomena was very dissatisfied. She missed her boyfriend so much that she was almost depressed after not seeing him for half a month. This conscienceless man was good. He talked about work and kept asking for information. He didn't say a single sweet word. Then hurry up, and then we can talk about work. Humph. Philomena looked down at Wayne and muttered, your disgusting face is exactly the same as the high priest of the Church of Nature. That old woman calls me sister as soon as she opens her mouth. Bah, as if she is so young. She is obviously married and has children. Philomena made a series of sarcasms, and Wayne was distracted and refused to join the chat. Oh, I suddenly remembered that you are her student. I said she is an old woman. You won't tell her. Wayne remained silent. Philomena held the handle, so he didn't dare to say anything at this time. You are sensible. Philomena raised her eyebrows proudly. I want to have a good relationship with her. After all, we will be a family in the future, but she came up and said something weird, as if I wanted to steal her students. Shameless, it was obviously me who came first. I say it again, Chris came first. For your sake, I don't have the same experience as her. How about it, do I respect my elders? Speak. Well, you are the most sensible, and I like you the most. Wayne rolled his eyes. How could Philomena be sensible? He could completely imagine that when he learned the faith magic of Moonlight Church and achieved certain achievements, Philomena would make a fool of herself in front of Sci-fi. He sighed, you are an elder after all. If you really love me, just bear with me. What about my grievance? You didn't even see how she bullied me. She showed off her power and almost beat me. Philomena was full of resentment. Her childish tone was very different from her mature and noble temperament. She looked like a proper little woman. Love really makes you younger. You vent your grievances on me, I'll pay you back. Perfunctory. My movie is about to be released, I'll book a midnight show for you. Not enough. You can do whatever you want that day. That's more like it. After getting a satisfactory answer, Philomena finally let go. Her elegant manner was extremely charming. Compared to her, the succubus was just so-so. By the way, why do you make movies? Is it a romance? Who is the leading actress? Is there a kissing scene? Speak. I don't want to talk about work now. Dark Realm. Philomena moved to the front, with long hair draped over her shoulders and wearing her boyfriend's white shirt. This dark realm was opened up by Philomena's mind. It is the safest place in the entire manor. She chose to impact the legendary mage realm here. Wayne followed closely behind, and seeing the advanced equipment of white shirt and stockings in front, he couldn't help but complain, "I remember you were very conservative. Why are you wearing less and less clothes now? Do you like it? It's okay. If you like it, then you like it. I'm wearing it this way because I know you like it." Philomena attacked fiercely. Familiar with Wayne's glib tongue, she followed suit and said, "Anyway, there are no outsiders. Even if there are perverts, you will protect me, right? No wonder I can only talk nonsense recently. It turns out that you have said all the truth." Wayne sighed and followed Philomena into the moon phase magic circle. 4 moon phase cards stood upright on the left and right sides, and the moon phase cycle emitted a bright glow. It's finally here. Next, I will open the door of truth. Wait a minute, will there be any danger? Wayne interrupted, thinking of the void worm with a huge appetite. He was still a little scared. What if it didn't leave? Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 202. Don't worry, the void worm has gone away. After learning about Wayne's concerns, Philomena lay on her boyfriend's chest and said, "Void worms are very rare space beasts. Their ability to travel through space means they will not stay in the same place for a long time." The Ministry of Magic later verified that the worm had indeed left. Orb was devoured by the void worms, which was purely the one-sided statement of Wayne and Philomena. Considering the possibility of collusion between the two, the Ministry of Magic later organized people to enter the Gate of Truth to verify. There are indeed signs of void worm activity in the universe, which confirms the truth of Orb's death, but the void worms did not show up and had gone to other places to hunt. The astral space is not static. It is an expanding and traceable universe, just like the rotation of the earth under our feet. Every time the Gate of Truth is opened, the astral node will change. But in general, this distance will not be too long, unless there is special space interference. Philomena's knowledge far exceeds Wayne's. She took out a series of theoretical knowledge to dispel Wayne's doubts, and finally added, "And we don't have to enter the universe, that's too dangerous. I will open a portal and filter the laws of the astral world through the moon phase card, sort it out and introduce it into the dark realm." She continued, "It is unlikely to succeed the first time. This level is very difficult and many golden wizards have been stopped. If it weren't for you, I would never have tried it rashly." "I see, you are using me." Philomena didn't say anything, looking at Wayne with a sullen face. Wayne didn't say anything either. He slapped himself in the face, hugged the beauty and kissed her. Philomena pinched Wayne's waist hard a few times. "Asshole, you feel uncomfortable if you don't make me angry twice a day, right?" Wayne shamelessly begged for forgiveness, secretly said that it was a bad dish, and repeatedly verified that the opponent played big and all in. If he followed up, he would probably fall into it. The worst thing is that he has already followed. Philomena stood in the center of the magic circle, with silver white lines on her cheeks, and her body shape slowly changed. Wayne was amazed by the beauty of the elf sister. "Wait a minute." Wayne raised his hand to interrupt, and asked Philomena to sit cross-legged, and then opened the door of truth to try to impact a higher level of life for the first time. "Why do you have to sit down? What's the explanation? The success rate is higher. You won't be wrong to trust me. This is the first time Philomena has heard of this statement, but seeing her boyfriend's promise, she smiled and commented that it was childish. Sit cross-legged. Wayne stood behind Philomena and saw that his white shirt was oppressed and deformed. He felt distressed for a moment and kindly unbuttoned 2 buttons for her. What's the point of bullying clothes? What kind of high priest is it? What do you need me to do? Wayne said the ugly words in advance. I have never helped anyone to advance before, let alone a legendary wizard. I don't even have a silver level. You'd better not have too much expectation, otherwise the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Don't underestimate yourself. Your native bloodline, especially the form of the ancient god, is far more terrible than you think. Philomena took the hand on her shoulder and stroked her cheek, rubbing it and said, show your evolved appearance. When I am with you, I feel very calm. Philomena didn't know how to describe it, so she used calm to describe it. It was an indescribable chaos, different from the chaos in the astral void. Although her thinking was disrupted, it was reshaped at the last moment, not endless and complete madness. It is appropriate to describe it as calm. 6-pointed star, cross star, triangle star, the magician went through the initial preparation, and life was able to evolve to a higher level. This process is very risky. Just as there are no 2 leaves in the world that are exactly the same, every golden mage is unique. You can refer to the experience summarized by the predecessors, but you cannot copy them mechanically. You must explore the details that suit you according to the big framework. If you force it, the result will be Marshall, the Lord of the Void, who lost himself on the road of evolution. Marshall gradually understood everything, and fell into madness in pursuit of the true meaning of life. Later, he calmed down and found himself, which shows that he got help from external forces. What exactly is the external force? Orb, who pitted his teammates, knows very well, and he also wants this external force, so all members of the Snow family mutated. If it weren't for the failure, he almost succeeded. Philomena found her own external force. Her evolutionary path was not as far as Marshall and Orb. She believed that Wayne could protect herself. She went all in, betting on both her body and her mind. The inexplicable confidence made Wayne feel guilty. He was unsure and did not think highly of Philomena's plan. He regarded this confidence as the blindness of love. He was a soft-hearted person. The more Philomena trusted him, the more ashamed he was. He crossed out the initial CPU, and looked at this elegant and charming high priest again. Beauty can only get you a pervert, but sincerity can get you sincerity. The lies Wayne told Philomena turned into a boomerang and hit him. The magic circle glowed, and the female elf's eyes closed slightly. With the change of the moon phase card, her delicate skin glowed and was white and shiny. Wayne pressed Philomena's shoulders, and with her unreserved trust, he saw the perfect golden triangle: life, emptiness, and self. The essence of life. Knowledge. Thinking. The 3 reached a perfect balance, influencing and strengthening each other. The female elf stimulated the balance of the golden triangle to the most perfect state, activated the magic circle arranged in advance, and opened a starry sky portal above the dark realm. The door of truth. Wayne looked up, the bright galaxy was shining, and the beauty made people want to take a peek. The Book of Greed poked its head out. JPG. Wayne and the Book of Greed merged, with pale hands on Philomena's shoulders, and 4 tentacles stretched out from behind, wrapping around Philomena's body. Opening this eye, Wayne saw a different golden triangle. Philomena majored in moonlight faith, supplemented by nature and the sun. This was nothing, and the elves of the Life Alliance did the same. The higher the realm and the stronger the strength, the more balanced the 3 beliefs became, and it was like the 3 goddesses sharing believers with each other. Pale moonlight, sunset at dusk, unbalanced nature. the existence of space is flawed, and the mind is polluted. Under the influence, the essence of life is mottled and dim. Because of Philomena's unconditional trust, Wayne was able to see everything about her. The mixed three-color magic was neither pure nor pure. Under the twisted structure of the big frame, a strange balance was achieved. Like a domino, every step made Wayne tremble with fear. If this was the Golden Wizard, he would rather choose to be a Silver Wizard. "No, I'm different from them," Wayne murmured, and his tentacles tightly wrapped around the female elf, and the white flesh covered and spread, almost wrapping it into a white meat cocoon. Philomena snorted lightly, and a low whisper came from her ear. Her mind was polluted by Wayne, and the whole person was a little unconscious. Soon, another source of pollution fell. The moon phase card turned, pulling the macroscopic landing in the gate of truth. As a series of complex lights lit up, the blank space that could not be recognized by the naked eye was transformed into colorful energy. Energy turns into matter, and matter turns back into energy. Under the Book of Greed's exasperated gaze, this process was repeated several times, and finally, the silver-white energy light spot turned into a blank, and was injected into the microscopic Philomena's body along the magic circle. It was intercepted. Wayne blinked innocently, and he probably understood something. Two tentacles rolled out from behind, and all the messy energy was rolled into his body. Philomena kept her balance, and she was exhausted and got nothing. The Book of Greed ate it happily. There was something even more satisfying. The two tentacles thought the moon phase card was too slow, and they reached out to insert it into the gate of truth. Wayne disagreed, suppressed his own desire, and injected his moonlight faith into his mind, and injected it into Philomena's body little by little. After it was full, he took the moonlight back. The knowledge shared did not decrease, and it became stronger again because of the addition of Philomena's knowledge. In this process, Wayne saw another function of the Book of Greed. The invisible big mouth has its own filter, which retains the essence and removes the dross, making the pale moonlight crystal clear. In short, frosted becomes matte, and matte becomes bright. Philomena is like a virgin who was forcibly taken by a rapist. The golden triangle in her body is unbalanced, her face is pale, and she is disturbed by the whispers in her ears. The confusion of her mind affects the essence of her life, and her external body changes. She gradually understood everything and began to move closer to Wayne's appearance. Seeing that the elf beauty was about to transform into a tentacle monster, Wayne returned the plundered faith and warned the other party to remember his appearance as a human. This process is very strange. Wayne has always thought that knowledge is limited and fixed. If he gets it, others can't get it. But seeing that the amount of faith magic in the small eyeball has not decreased, it undoubtedly overturned his previous guess. It's still not right. It's obvious that the knowledge on the magic props was really taken away by me. Or, people and props are of different natures, so we can't generalize. That's not right either. The knowledge of Shadow Nightmare is equal. I got it, but I didn't take it away. Wayne didn't quite understand. This situation was beyond his cognitive scope. Then he filtered the nature and the sun separately, and his thoughts diverged. He rewrote the golden triangle in Philomena's body, making the latter completely become his own. I seem to have seen this process somewhere. Wayne thought of Dragonheart Island, where the blood tyrant seized the ancient god's faith and turned the islanders into crocodile people. This moment is just like that moment. If he hadn't insisted on letting Philomena be an elf, the latter would have become a white faceless tentacle monster. Higher level life can change the life essence of subordinates. Wayne tightened the elf beauty in his arms. He admitted that his life level was extremely high. He plagiarized, no, borrowed part of the appearance of the ancient god, but Philomena was not his believer. Why did she change to look like him? Just because she has something in her belly, just because her mind is not guarded? Pass the former, The second possibility is very likely. Wayne guessed the reason, and the more he thought about it, the more curious he became, and the more impulsive he became. If this is true, he can completely establish a sect and become a god himself. Becoming a god is too far away, so let's become a golden wizard first. Philomena is just a single example, we can't generalize, thinking about finding other people to try when there is a chance. For example, Mona. Mona is the most obedient, and she will definitely not refuse to become the shape of her master. Considering that his appearance is seriously inconsistent with the public aesthetics, mainly inconsistent with his own aesthetics, Wayne decided to take it step by step. Wait a minute, my appearance is very similar to the original angel. If I use my mind to pollute Mona, will I make an artificial angel? Wayne's mind was full of possibilities. The chaotic thoughts disturbed Philomena, and the beautiful elf had a crooked mouth and squinted eyes, and she almost became a pervert and could not maintain her human form. Wayne hurriedly stopped his wild thoughts and warned her to keep her human form. The more he didn't want to think about it, the more he wanted to think about it, which made the elf in his arms suffer. At least his thoughts were patented. The dark realm was empty, and there was no concept of the flow of time. When Philomena woke up, it was already dawn. The gate of truth was closed, and Wayne also visited the 4 moon phase cards. She stood up with soreness all over her body, and found that she didn't know when she had exited the elf transformation. The white shirt was taken off. Asshole, what's wrong with wearing one of your clothes, so stingy? Philomena limped out of the dark realm and saw her boyfriend in the bedroom. She didn't care about hugging you and Xiaoyi and rushed over. You have a conscience. I thought you had left. How is it possible? You never stayed overnight before. I will definitely stay overnight occasionally in the future. Wayne held the high priest in his arms and kicked open the bathroom door. How do you feel, legendary wizard? How can it be so fast? It will take at least 3 months if nothing unexpected happens. Halfway through the conversation, Philomena looked at her hands in surprise. She felt that her body had changed and her head tilted. You didn't do it while I was asleep. How is it possible? The love plan in your diary has not been completed yet. You are so innocent that you even secretly wrote a love letter to your future boyfriend. Wayne was halfway through the conversation when Philomena covered his mouth. The high priest experienced a social death scene and was so angry that he wanted to teach Wayne a lesson. How can you peek at my diary? The drawer is not locked. Wayne took it for granted that the diary was placed on the table for people to see. Veronica understood the simple and easy to understand truth. That can't be done either, woo woo woo. Wayne let go and walked into the bathtub with the high priest in his arms. Tell me, what changes have occurred in your body? It's just, I don't know either. I feel that it's easier to advance to a legendary wizard. I can do it even without your help. Philomena didn't have big eyes, so she couldn't see the changes before and after the filter. She only knew that her magic power was extremely pure, and the golden triangle had changed a lot. So pure, she dared to compete for the saint. The source of the change came from Wayne. She used her hands and feet to wrap around him, and her eyes were as charming as silk, wanting to eat people. Hiss hiss hiss. Time went around and around until December 15th. Philomena's evolution continued, and Wayne went there 3 times during the period to observe closely. Sure enough, without his help, Philomena could learn new knowledge, but her magic power was polluted again, indicating that her golden triangle was covered with a layer of dust again. The star realm is very dangerous, and learning needs to be cautious. Today is the day when the King Kong movie is released. Because of the newspaper publicity, everyone who knows Wayne knows that he made a movie. Like Veronica, like Willie, the most shameless one is Kerr, who called to ask for movie tickets, and asked for 10 tickets at the beginning, so that he could watch the movie with his temporary girlfriends. Putting aside his weird aesthetics, 9 girlfriends, What a chain of iron chain. Wayne was very envious. Or temporary. Kerr was born with good looks and handsome face, which was enviable. Wayne could only honestly follow the character of a loyal lover, and booked a theater with Chris in the morning to go to the cinema. Wayne originally refused this kind of social death scene, but he couldn't stand Chris's soft and hard nagging, so he had to give in. You don't know until you see it, and you'll be shocked when you see it. The literary part is touching, because the stand-in reshot the new plot, the character setting is full and moving, delicate and sublimated, and the monster movie is shot into a love movie. Wayne was stunned to watch the whole process. The director added too much drama, the stand-in's back is similar to his, and it has been dubbed in the post-production. It is not an exaggeration to say that he participated in the whole process. The third male character he played had a lot of plots. As the first love of the heroine, he was a devoted person. Because of the disparity in status and class, they were forced to separate. In the last few minutes of the movie, he heroically sacrificed his life to save his beloved woman and died at the feet of the monster. The female graduate student who was full of fantasies about love couldn't bear to see this. She dropped her little pearl on the spot and cried in Wayne's arms. Wayne's forehead was full of question marks. Although, the result was good. Facing Chris's questioning, he said that his acting skills were so good. Lily is so beautiful. I heard from Willie that she is your idol. Chris cried for a while and turned to the end of the map. What's the matter with the kiss scene? Did you pretend to be real? No wonder you are so skilled. You must have taken the opportunity to get stuck many times. Don't talk nonsense. You took away my first kiss. That was a misplacement. Afternoon. It was still the same cinema and the same screening room. Willie cried in Wayne's arms. Wayne, you died tragically, you were crushed. Wayne. You said the kiss scene was fake, and you only shot a few scenes. You're lying. You're clearly the lead actor. Did you really kiss your idol? No, I still have my first kiss. At night. It was still the same cinema, the same screening room. The ticket collector was numb. Bringing two during the day was already too much, and at night you brought one big and one small. No wonder there are more and more gays in Windsor. It turns out that all the pretty girls are picked up by you. The big and one small are Healy and Veronica. Wayne watched it twice. The plot is touching, and the loyal character is full. It can be said to be the best tear-jerking image on the screen this year. While inviting Veronica, he also invited his father-in-law, mother-in-law and Megan. Austin sneered and refused to watch the vulgar film. He would rather stay at home and play with cats. Healy expressed his support for the students and wanted to see how good the film shot by the students was. At the end of the film, Healy lay in Wayne's arms and cried loudly, and next to him was Veronica, who raised her head to prevent the little pearl from falling. Teacher, you are lying on the wrong person. This seat is not for you. Wayne whispered and asked Healy to make room for his daughter. He booked the whole place to capture Veronica, not to make the teacher cry about how miserable the student died. Sci-fi finally reacted, looked around, and couldn't find the idiot, so she gritted her teeth. If you're not here at the critical moment, what's the use of you? I'll let you fly when I go back. Sci-fi thought so, and saw Wayne's stubborn daughter beside him, and she thought it was bad, and she shouldn't have come to join in the fun today. But then again, she didn't know that a monster movie could be so touching. It's not a big problem, and it can be made up. Sci-fi wiped her tears, clenched her fist and coughed lightly, and scolded, Wayne, what's the matter with the kiss scene? I remember you said it was a misplaced shot. You lied, right? It doesn't look like acting at all. Veronica pricked up her ears. She thought so too. How is it possible, teacher? Don't wrongly accuse good students. My first kiss has always been reserved for someone, and it hasn't been given away yet. Wayne said he was wronged. Oh, who is so lucky? I can't say, She will hit people. Tisk tisk, young people nowadays are so violent. Maybe it's love. Yeah, I think so too. Veronica. Is it over yet? Midnight show. It's still the same cinema, the same screening room. The ticket collector worked overtime and saw Wayne bringing another beautiful woman to the movie. He cursed and threw away the ticket clamp. What kind of quality? Wayne rolled his eyes and took Mona to a familiar seat. He had endured watching it 4 times a day. This is the job of a ticket collector. What's there to be angry about? It's weird and doesn't make any sense. At the end of the film, Mona lay in Wayne's arms and cried loudly. Boss, I'm going to kill that ugly gorilla to avenge you. And that bitch, she actually dumped you, and she kissed you, she blasphemed the angel. Don't talk nonsense, it's misplaced, the first kiss is still there. It's too dangerous, I'll keep it for you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 203. Jianhe County, Cinema. In his busy schedule, Wayne remembered that he was still a small leader, so he drove to the stronghold in Jianhe County to check in, and brought a box of ancient books to the artistic girl. He also made an appointment with the artistic girl to watch a movie during afternoon tea time. It's said to be a movie, but it's actually a date. Odelia, an artistic girl, declined the date and said she was only moderately interested in monster-themed movies, but for the sake of collecting ancient books, she was willing to watch movies starring her friends. Watching a movie together is not equal to going on a date. Good news, ticket inspectors no longer need to be so angry that they throw away their tongs. Bad news, Wayne has a midnight show tonight, and the high priest hasn't enjoyed the masterpiece yet. In the private screening room, Odelia was sipping a drink, and next to her was Wayne, who was holding popcorn. The two were talking and laughing, and the topic always revolved around that disappearing history. Odelia has a quiet temperament, is elegant and unassuming, and has a calm mind that is almost incompatible with her age. It seems that every gesture has been reviewed in her mind and only expressed after confirming it is correct. Wayne guessed that her upbringing must be very strict. Regarding Odelia's family background, Wayne once asked about it, but the latter didn't go into detail. He didn't ask more questions and didn't go further. After getting along several times, Wayne thought he knew something about Odelia. Her quietness was just superficial. Odelia was no different from female college students of the same age. She was curious, rebellious, eager to challenge new things, and full of adventurous spirit. Because of her strict tutoring, she buried all these in her heart and confided them all in books. Even though she is a disciple of the goddess of nature, her faith is not firm, her personality is independent, and she has the spirit of a free mage. Coincidentally, Wayne is also this kind of person. He has a common topic with Odelia and is also very interested in that disappearing history. After going back and forth, Odelia becomes her friend. She didn't have many friends, so she couldn't refuse invitations, so she put down the ancient books she couldn't put down and came to the cinema to watch movies with Wayne. But soon, the artistic girl was attracted by this artistic film. While praising director Wallace as a genius, she also praised Wayne's acting skills. Seeing Wayne sacrificing his life for love, even though she was so calm, her eyes turned red. Don't be sad, it's just an art form. Wayne took the opportunity to grab the artistic girl's hand. If you feel envious, just take off your shackles and do it boldly. As a friend, I will fully support you. It's different. My situation is a bit complicated and I can't pay for love like you do. Halfway through her words, Odelia realized something was wrong, looked at her grabbed hand, and then looked at Wayne angrily. I consider you a friend, but you actually want to date me? What's wrong, Keep going. Wayne looked puzzled and asked Odelia to continue. Odelia pulled out her hand and gave Wayne a fierce look. You are so good at lying to girls, you must have many girlfriends, right? Single, thank you. Wayne opened his mouth, but failed to hear the lines he wanted, so he continued the topic by himself. It's like the kiss scene on the ship. It was actually shot out of position, and my first kiss hadn't even been given yet. Odelia covered her mouth and snickered. She reads a lot, especially history books, so this statement cannot deceive her. I feel so embarrassed when you smile like that. Then what should I do? You should be curious about when I gave my first kiss and which girl was so lucky. Then I answered, that girl is in the screening room. Wayne joked seriously. After saying that, he laughed first. Odelia did not smile, but looked at Wayne, frowning as if she was thinking seriously. No, you really want it? Wayne was surprised and pointed at his pouted lips. We are just friends. You tell me how to kiss. I promise not to resist. Only then did Odelia laugh and said bluntly, you are a good person. It is very happy to be a friend. If you are a boyfriend, I will definitely live a very tired life. How will you know if you don't try? Wayne encouraged. Science is rigorous and requires practice and verification, and hypotheses cannot be regarded as answers. Odelia was not fooled and looked blankly at the end credits. I envy you very much. You can do whatever you want, whether it's making a movie, skipping work, or wherever you want to go. You can do it too. Odelia shook her head and said, the movie is very good. I want to watch it again. Wayne looked at his watch. Okay, there's plenty of time. I'll buy movie tickets. Are you in a hurry? Well, I have an appointment with my girlfriend tonight, and I want to go back to London to watch a movie with her. Odelia rolled her eyes. The unexpected answer made her even more envious of Wayne. He could say whatever he wanted without any scruples. The second show came to an end. In the screening hall, the female college students in the university town burst into tears. Their boyfriends comforted them with warm words. They took the opportunity to be courteous and swore that they would give their lives for love in their place. They were given a kiss as a reward. Wayne wore a scarf covering half of his face, and the god of war gave himself a silent thumbs up. Fortunately, he was prepared to protect his face in advance, otherwise female fans would rush up to him and ask for kisses, and it would be a mistake if he disagreed. If they agree, the boyfriends will be single on the spot. If they don't agree, the lead actor will act like a celebrity and disrespect the fans. It's so hard to be an idol. Odelia looked at the young man and woman hugging each other with a complicated expression. Maybe she was envious. She swayed and found herself being held in Wayne's arms. She raised her head again, opened her mouth and slowly leaned over. Odelia was stunned, raised her hand in front of her face, pushed away Wayne's innocent face, and rolled her eyes beautifully. Don't be ridiculous, we agreed to be friends. This is not nonsense. I am giving you the courage to rush forward boldly and say no to your past self. You can defeat yourself, Wayne said shamelessly. It's not that easy. Odelia shook her head and asked curiously, Wayne, if a person defeats himself, does he win or lose? A good philosophical question. In my opinion it should win. How to say? I am me now, I was not me in the past. The me now defeats the me in the past, I win. Ah, that seems to make sense. That makes sense. Wayne pointed at himself. How about it? Do you need some courage to defeat yourself? Forget it, you are in trouble at first glance, and I am in trouble too. It doesn't matter, my first kiss will always be reserved for you. Just tell me whenever you want. Yeah, okay. Now it was Wayne's turn to be confused. Looking at the expression of the artistic girl, the latter thought carefully before giving the answer. She is serious. Odelia, do you have a fever that has burned your head? If not, let's go to the hospital. I'll treat you. No, I'm serious. If I still do it after half a year. Odelia paused, and then said, I'll give you a chance to lie to me, but I was not who I am now. The price for lying to me is very serious, and people will die. Wayne blinked and said, who are you trying to scare? The cost of being cheated by him is also very serious, including lives. Odelia, what's going on in your family? Wayne was extremely curious and wanted to dig deeper. I don't want to say it, but I want to watch you get trampled to death by a gorilla again. Wayne looked at his watch and saw that it wasn't impossible. Why, are you in a hurry to go back to accompany your girlfriend? Odelia teased. Single, thank you. London Cinema, midnight show. Wayne walked into the screening room at the last minute before the movie started. The ticket inspector's face turned green. He thought he wouldn't see this evil face again today, but unexpectedly, he still underestimated Wayne's strength. Yesterday there were 5 beauties, big and small, and tonight there were 3 more beauties in one ad too, including a pair of twins. How come you were not exhausted to death with 8 beauties watching movies in 2 days? Also, why didn't you come during the day? Did you go to another cinema to reserve the theater? The ticket inspector became angrier when he thought about being single. In addition, he recognized Wayne's face and knew that he was the actor who was trampled to death by the gorilla. The good and loyal man on the screen is actually a scumbag in reality. It's too ironic, no, too real. Rightward arrow. The ticket collector cursed and left, resigning now. He also wants to be an actor. Hey, isn't this Mr. Wayne? I thought you were busy with official duties and wouldn't come. Philomena led the twins to sit in the middle of the screening room, putting their hands on their shoulders and looking weird. If you are unhappy, you need to be coaxed. How is it possible? No matter how busy you are, you can't forget my baby. Wayne squeezed away one of the twins, maybe Verna or Deed, and hugged Philomena for a deep kiss. Don't be like this, they are still, ugh, they are so annoying. He, as long as you like it. X2. X2. The twins were speechless as they looked at this pair of dog men, people. They couldn't figure out why the high priest, who was mature, steady, charming and intelligent, was coaxed around by a pretty boy. At the end of the film, Philomena lay in Wayne's arms and burst into tears. The twins looked at the sky at a 45-degree angle, unwilling to be deceived by the pretty boy into losing their little pearl. Damn director, he actually filmed you to death and let that woman kiss you. Philomena cried and said, it's a good death. If you hadn't died, that bitch who has 2 legs would have married you. Wayne's tooth ached when he heard that. He thought that Willie's focus was outrageous, but he didn't expect that the strongest among the strongest. Speak. The first kiss is still there. Ah. No, the first kiss was taken away by you. It was shot out of place in the movie. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Wayne wandered into the sewer. Because the film was too touching, Philomena insisted on communicating with him verbally. We talked for a long time, not to mention rivers of blood, but definitely corpses everywhere. Staying up late was hurting his body, so Wayne decided to stay up all night. He had already passed ancient silver coins on the way back and forth, and his fatigue level had bottomed out today, so he switched to obelisk training. Speaking of which, there is knowledge of storms and thunder in the obelisk. He was once a powerful god. He was defeated and died in the War of Faith. He was removed from history and was not known to the world. Wayne gets the obelisk and the Book of Greed. He only needs to unseal the obelisk from the sealed book to get storm and thunder for free. But he didn't do that. The plan for the silver stage was 5 goddesses and heaven and hell. Storm and thunder were left in the gold stage and were not considered at the moment. Without him, there are too many thighs, and 2 more, the fellow elemental fellows really can't bear it. The pace of time came to January 1939, London was calm and everything was quiet. Wayne's daily life consists of practicing and dating, 2 points and 1 line, boring and boring, except for happiness, it is empty. During this period, there was also a Christmas. Most of Wayne's acquaintances were pagans, and he himself did not celebrate this holiday. He just went to the cinema with Mona to watch King Kong again. Gangplank was so calm that it was outrageous. He seemed to be competing with Wayne for patience. He seemed to have forgotten about the ancient silver coin and had not contacted Wayne. On Philomena's side, evolution was proceeding in an orderly manner. She had not yet been promoted to a legend, but she was nourished by love and looked much younger. According to Philomena, because of the assistance of her boyfriend, her promotion path was almost risk-free. She just had to wait for it to come to fruition. Wayne knew in his heart that Philomena was no longer the pure elf. There had been earth-shaking changes inside. She was a faceless tentacle monster in the skin of an elf. With his assistance, Philomena's evolutionary path changed and she gradually became his shape. From the perspective of faith, Philomena committed a serious crime of blasphemy. From her mind to her body, she had deviated from the original intention of the elves' evolution. Wayne didn't want this to happen. Every time he saw the dirty golden triangle, he couldn't help but wipe off the dust. After a while, the elf beauty became abnormal. Philomena didn't know about her own changes and felt great. Wayne didn't say anything. He didn't mind and would be responsible. Commercial Street, Wayne Detective Agency. The office door was locked. Wayne was writing his diary quickly. He grinned and stopped writing from time to time, and his mind was a little distracted. Veronica's appetite was too big. Wayne's future diary had been written to 1940. It was updated every day, and the output was amazing. It can't be called a diary anymore. In order to satisfy Veronica's appetite, Wayne had to copy history books. The effect was good. Reading history makes people wise. He hoped that this method would let Veronica understand more about the dark side of society. You can use it, but you can't not understand it. Bang bang bang. Boss, the guest who made an appointment wants to see you. Office assistant Kelly knocked on the door. Arrange the guest to go to the conference room. I'll be there soon, Wayne said without raising his head. Okay. 5 minutes later, Wayne closed his diary and breathed a sigh of relief. Mona stood up, took out a handkerchief and wiped her mouth. Boss, do you want me to receive that guest? The guest paid the highest price and has an appointment. It's too perfunctory for you to go, and you'd better not talk. The smell is too strong and it will affect the reputation of the detective agency. Wayne waved his hands, with a face of helplessness and devastation. He vaguely remembered that it was a stormy Christmas Eve. He accompanied Mona to the cinema to watch a movie and was coaxed home by the other party. She said that angels would eat apples tonight, father, love, faith, etc. As a result, Wayne didn't eat the apple, but lost his first kiss and sweetness. He lost hundreds of millions in one night. Thinking about it now, he still feels heartbroken. I regret it. Blame him for being too naive and trusting Mona too much. He really thought nothing would happen. Mona watched Wayne leave with a serious face, confirmed that there was no one around, picked up the black coat on the hanger and took a few deep puffs. Epic lung sucking. Looking at her pilgrimage-like expression, those who didn't know would think she was worshipping faith. Well, it really is. The cross given to Mona by the Pope has a big problem. It tapped into Mona's deep desires, making her absolutely loyal to her master, and also stimulated her desire for her master. Every time she saw Wayne, Mona would think of a voice in her heart, saying that the reincarnated angel came to the world to eradicate the devil, and once the mission was completed, the angel would return to heaven. If the angel could not leave some obsession in the world, Mona would never see Wayne again until she died. You don't want this, right? Mona definitely doesn't want this. This voice comes from her deep desires, and it will be amplified when she sees Wayne. She thought for a long time about what the angel's obsession in the world is. Figured it out? Meeting room. Wayne met the distinguished guest, a lady with short black hair, luxurious clothes, cold makeup, and wearing stockings in the middle of winter. She was either a beauty lover or had ulterior motives. Wayne. Wayne stretched out his hand and politely held the other's fingertips. I am the owner of Wayne Detective Agency and the best detective in the detective agency. May I know your name? Sarah. The two sat down opposite each other, and Wayne looked at the black suitcase on the table. Ms. Sarah, it's a great honor to meet you. I promise that it is worth the money and I will complete your commission successfully. Sarah smiled slightly and talked about her commission, a very ordinary missing person investigation case. About a year ago, she lent money to a colleague, and the colleague disappeared after getting the money. At first, she didn't care because she and her colleague were abroad all year round for work, and it was normal not to see each other for 3 to 5 months. But there was no news for a whole year, which clearly showed that he was avoiding her as a creditor and planned to not pay back the money. It's absurd. Windsor is a society ruled by law. Such a villain is doomed to have a bad end. Wayne shared the same hatred and criticized the debtor from the perspective of the guest. Then, he asked some details, including the name, age, work unit, and last seen place of the debtor. As he asked, Wayne found something wrong. When he saw the photo of the debtor, the corners of his mouth twitched uncontrollably. Photo. A very familiar face, I can see it in the mirror every day. So, you are. The air is trembling, as if the sky is burning, Sarah said with a smile. Wayne pressed his lips together, and his eyes twitched again. After a while, he said, yes, the storm is coming. Hello, Wayne. It's not good to see you. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 204. Hearing the perfunctoriness in Wayne's words, Sola didn't take it seriously. She came to see Wayne for this purpose. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Whether it's beating or inducing, do some ideological work for Wayne so that he can return to the radio and continue to shine for Frank. Indeed, it is indeed inappropriate to call you Wayne now. You should be called Superstar George. Sola's smile did not change. George is the character played by Wayne in the King Kong movie. Due to the change in the role, he squeezed out the original second male lead and eclipsed the male lead gorilla. He and Lily's heroine Fiona were also named the best of the year. The on-screen couple set off a huge trend of following the trend. On the street, many couples dress up according to their on-screen images. In the early days, couples pretended to be so. Austin didn't want to make money from this movie, but because of the popularity of King Kong, he still made a fortune with tears in his eyes. The reason why I am in tears. Nonsense, he personally packed the small trash can with special designs. If you don't cry, how can you make him laugh? Austin's original intention was to maintain the family's image and not make the heir look like a fool who blindly pursues love. Who would have thought that a few stand-in retakes made the little trash can become a popular lover? Listening to Megan's box office report every day, Austin's heart beat faster, and the more he thought about it, the more angry he became. He almost pushed Monica to the Mediterranean. It can only be said that investment needs to be cautious. It is best for laymen not to get involved in this pitfall of movies. Those who wanted to make money lost everything, while those who didn't want to make money made a lot of money and became famous. Forget it about being a big star, I have to be chased wherever I go, which worries me too. Wayne sighed. Why didn't he want to be a quiet, handsome man? He took advantage of the situation and said, you have also seen that I am so popular that I am not suitable for my previous job. How about forget it? Wayne, you are a member of the Intelligence Bureau one day and you will be a member of the Intelligence Bureau all your life. I hope you can realize this. Sola said the same words as Mustache with great pains. Wayne was suffering from mustache syndrome. After hearing this, he just wanted to call the police and let Sarah go to jail to taste Windsor's stick education. He rolled his eyes and said, "To be honest, I am a big star now, have a high social status, and am doing well. There is no need to live in fear like before. So you betrayed Frank and your own beliefs." Sola looked serious. "Wayne, you have failed your country and failed the country's training for you. Are you people who are engaged in intelligence training trained in the same textbooks and don't have any other lines?" Wayne complained in his heart, "I'm still telling the truth. Although Frank trained me, he didn't tell me the truth about the world. He has always treated me as cannon fodder. Ms. Sola, do you know? If you don't know, go back and ask. Then you will make the same choice as me. Magic. You know something." Thora had done enough planning before coming and said calmly, "Wayne, you misunderstood. The Intelligence Bureau did not explain the truth for your own good. Otherwise, you would not have achieved what you have now, and you would have been discovered by the magician of Windsor." As he said this, a bunch of puas were thrown at Wayne, starting from the century-old friendship between the two countries and talking about the horrors of World War I, criticizing Windsor's inhumane behavior in various ways. Wayne didn't interrupt or refute. It was all the truth. Windsor was indeed a bad person and the source of all evil. "You're right, but the truth of the world is not only magic, but also capital." Wayne added a cup of tea to Sola. "You must have investigated before you came to me. I am not only a big star, but also the heir of the Tulip family. Impressive wealth is waiting for me. What reason do I have to betray Windsor?" Sola took the teacup and put it directly on the table without drinking it. "It is precisely because the wealth are waiting for you that you should help the country. Wayne, do you know how many people are jealous of you now? Because of your situation, the Superior Department is in a quarrel. Zisuo. As a senior Frank agent, you gained social status in Windsor, forgot your mission, and did not contact the headquarters for a long time, which caused a lot of dissatisfaction." Sola wanted to be proud but suppressed at first, and then said, "The leader loves talents, so he specially ordered me to come and contact you. As long as you still remember your mission, you will suppress all the voices of dissatisfaction. Terrorize me? No, I'm helping you." Sola said sincerely, "You have been blinded by power and money and have forgotten your true identity. This is very dangerous. The worst is possible. It's not that easy to scare me. Wayne, people who have seen the highs cannot bear the lows. Don't be hard on yourself." Sola is extremely eloquent and has certain attainments in psychology. Every sentence he speaks is from Wayne's perspective. The leader attaches great importance to you and knows that you are a loyal agent. Coupled with your current and future status, no matter will allow someone to reveal your identity. A long paragraph of eloquent words clarified the importance the intelligence agency attached to Wayne, appeased his wariness, and showed that he came with good intentions. "Don't worry, all your information has been sealed. No one knows that you are from Frank, and Windsor can't find out. Now you are the safest agent in the God's chosen continent. Sister, this has been exposed." Thanks to the support of his peers, the level of capabilities of the Windsor Intelligence Agency immediately rose in Wayne's mind. He did not interrupt and continued to listen to Sarah's words. "Even if you are willing to give up your current status, the Intelligence Bureau will not agree, so you don't have to worry about your own people betraying you." Sarah said, "On the contrary, we will provide you with some conveniences to ensure that you can achieve greater success." Sarah mentioned the business bidding in Luzul City. As the heir of the Landau family, Wayne's personal interests are highly tied to the interests of the Landau family. The Intelligence Bureau eagerly hopes that Wayne can stabilize his current social status and is willing to reveal some information to make the Landau family's business bigger and stronger. In contrast, Wayne continues to do his old business and transmits information about the Tulip family and the royal family to Frank. If nothing unexpected happens, Wayne will live a life of wealth and glory as the head of the Landau family, and will never have anything to do with Frank until he does. If something unexpected happens, Sarah didn't say it, believing that Wayne knows how to judge the situation. Cooperation is beneficial to both sides, and communication is a win-win situation, which will not be wrong. Does the Intelligence Bureau trust me so much? After all, I have been out of contact for a year, and it is very likely that I have completely turned to Windsor, Wayne asked. There is such a possibility, but it has been ruled out by the superiors. Why? Wayne hurriedly asked. He wanted to see how stupid Frank's intelligence organization could be. The one who knows Windsor best in the world is undoubtedly our Frank. They will not let people of unknown origin enter the Tulip family. You are not exposed, and it is even more impossible for you to turn to Windsor. Sarah has a reason and believes in Windsor's character. Wayne blinked. He couldn't refute this reason. In summary, Frank's intelligence organization cannot be said to be stupid, but just standing still and not developing for many years. It is seriously injured and just busy with playing badly. W omega omega tkanko. It is understandable. There are wolves in front and tigers behind. Winning and losing are the same. He will also play badly. What do you mean, Wayne? What can I mean? The organization trusts me so much. It still misses me after breaking up for a year and can't see me doing well. I am so grateful to all the leaders, Wayne said sarcastically. The more he mocked and resisted, the more Sarah believed him. From a psychological point of view, these were normal reactions. Don't worry, the Intelligence Bureau has no intention of forcing you. We are meeting you today only to convey goodwill. Sarah pushed the file box to Wayne, blinked, and said meaningfully, you will like it? Magic. It's capital. He is so accurate in judging people. Wayne accepted the suitcase and frowned. If I agree, I will contact someone in the future. I can't bring the radio with me. There must be a special contact person. You or Lily. Lily will not return to Windsor. She is a big star now and will be responsible for publicity in the future. Sarah said, if you want to see her, you can go to Paris. Forget it, it's too dangerous. I have a skeleton over there. He is very prestigious locally. After Sarah left, Wayne put on white gloves and took the file box to the office to browse. When he entered the door, he glanced at his coat and found that someone had touched it. He pouted and pretended not to see it. Just treat it as a reward. He looked at the documents in the box and took the black tea handed by Mona. He shook his head while reading and smiled from time to time. Mona leaned over to look at it. The distance was very close. Her chest pressed on Wayne's shoulder. After browsing it, she was surprised and said, Boss, where did you get the first-hand information? It's all business cooperation information. I'm afraid it will cost a lot of money. Free. Wayne patted his chest and asked Mona to copy down several important documents. He returned to Wayne's house with a suitcase. After arriving home, he went into the basement without stopping, passed through the complex sewer system, and went to the young master's exclusive villa in Landau Manor. Austin was not at home, and Megan was not at home either. Wayne contacted her and waited for her at afternoon tea time. Austin's face was sour. The King Kong movie has not been released yet, and this face will remain for a while in the future. Frank's intelligence organization contacted me. This is their gift. Wayne briefly outlined it and pushed the suitcase in front of Austin. Austin watched for a full half hour, and his gloomy face eased a little. I like the romance of the Franks, as well as their ignorance and generosity. I understand, even the Franks have their merits, right? Wayne complained. He thought that as a big capitalist, Austin would not have a stereotype of the Franks, but he still underestimated the century-old friendship between the two countries. That's right. Austin closed the suitcase, looked up and down at Wayne, and said with satisfaction, it's worth my investment in you, and I finally see the return. Indeed, you gave me your daughter. Austin's face, which had eased, became gloomy again, and he jumped to the next topic. Since you came to me today, I also have an important news to tell you. Is the Ministry of Magic making trouble again? Wayne was shocked. It was not easy to have peace for a few days. It's been so long, can't you study magic honestly like him? The selection of the Saint of the Natural Church, which is held every 20 years, is about to begin. Your teacher, Sif, is the high priest of the district and has 2 recommended places, Austin said slowly. Good saint. Wayne's eyes lit up. He had been looking forward to it for a long time. Finally, the saint appeared. He asked curiously, who will the teacher nominate? Veronica. Will it be inappropriate? She may become a mother at the end of the year. Okay, I won't say anything, you continue. With Veronica's dragon blood and her magical talent, she is qualified to compete for the saint. Before you appeared, Sci-fi might have really intended to do so, Austin said with a stinky face. Wayne nodded to show his understanding. The saint is a leftover woman. For the sake of faith, she must remain pure. Veronica and he are in love with each other. The teacher will not be an old witch to break them up. It's different now. You are better than Veronica. Austin paused, calmed down and said, you are a little better than Veronica in some aspects. She is likely to entrust her past regrets to you. Me. Wayne was happy. I am a man, how can I be a saint? The inheritance of the natural church has always been the saint, but there is no rule that it must be a saint. The son of the saint can also be. Ah, this. Wayne was shocked. He has always had a small goal that he cannot tell anyone. Omega WTKNO. Holding the teacher's thigh, he assisted the teacher in killing the Dark Knight. When the teacher became famous and became the Pope, he, as the Pope's first disciple, was able to enter and exit the saint's bedroom and stay up late to instruct the other party in life magic. After becoming the Son of God, in addition to staying at the headquarters of the Church of Nature, you must also travel between the various divisions of the Church to spread the glory and oracle of the Goddess of Nature to the believers. Austin's face was not very good. Find a way to reject Sci-fi, don't agree to her. You still need to say that. Wait a minute, why don't you say it? Wayne's clever little head turned and immediately understood what Austin meant. Old Den didn't want to offend his wife, so he asked him to offend the teacher. This abacus was so calculated that the beads fell into the cat litter box. Wayne did not doubt his talent, and Austin did not. The conversation between the two did not mention the possibility of Wayne's failure from beginning to end, as if as long as he signed up, he would become the son of God. You are the heir of the Landau family. You must stay in London and not go anywhere. That's a must. Wayne nodded in his heart. The saint is very interesting. Forget about the son. He doesn't want her even if she's given to him for free. He said, I don't want to reject the teacher. The saint is her regret. She's so good to me. I should repay her anyway. Austin laughed out loud. The saint must remain pure, and so must the son. Are you sure you can give up beauty? The question that hit the soul made Wayne silent. He frowned and said, the teacher has been trying to match me with Veronica. If the son wants to remain pure, she has no reason to recommend me, right? Is there a possibility that men are not pure at all? The son can not only applaud, but also shoulder the responsibility of conveying life. Wayne looked at Austin suspiciously, waiting for his answer. You are the heir of the family, you must stay in London, it's that simple. Go and tell the teacher, what's the point of telling me? Go and tell him. Bounce back. X2. Austin, childish. Wayne, coward. Parted unhappily. At the same time. Headquarters of the Church of Nature in London. Sci-fi looked at the two recommendation forms on the desk and hesitated to write. Wayne was the most suitable candidate in her mind. As long as he signed up, he would be destined to become the son of the Church of Nature. She believed it. The only problem was that the Son of God had to remain pure, at least during his term of office. The time is not long, as short as 15 years and as long as 20 years. For a magician who stays young forever, it is not a big problem. Sci-fi was a little entangled. Becoming the Son of God would be beneficial to Wayne. Not only could he learn the most profound faith magic, but he could also listen to the oracle of the goddess up close. If the goddess descends in the body of the Son of God, and leaves something behind before leaving, Wayne will benefit from it for the rest of his life. From the perspective of a teacher, 11 Faye hopes that Wayne will become the Son of God. This is a path that many people cannot get even if they kneel down. As for love, you can bear it for now. From the perspective of a mother, Veronica will definitely feel very uncomfortable after being separated for 15 to 20 years. As for love, it is very hard to bear. How about filling them both in together? Even if there is a problem, he, a boy, can't find the problem. 11 Faye's eyes lit up, and he raised his hand to write, but then he thought that this idea was disrespectful to the goddess. What if the goddess suddenly came down, and Wayne happened to be there? Right, it's always bad to pollute the eyes of the goddess. Ding-ling-ling. The phone rang, and the assistant outside the office called, and Priest Flora wanted to see him for something. Why did she come to see me? Sci-fi hung up the phone, looked at the recommendation form on the table, and raised her lips slightly. You have been a saint once, but you are still not satisfied. Do you really regard the church as your own home? After a while, Flora walked in, glimpsed the blank form with her peripheral vision, and greeted the high priest with a slight bow. One sister is taller than the other, and because of their ordinary relationship, they are very polite. Good sisters are all shoulder to shoulder and act like brothers. After a round of greetings, Flora explained her purpose. High Priest, the Windsor sub-district has 2 recommendation quotas, and I hope to get one of them. Flora, you are late, I just received a call, and the quotas have been reserved by the headquarters, 11 Faye said regretfully. High Priest, the headquarters has its own recommendation quotas and will not ask for them from the sub-districts. This is the iron rule of the church. Really? Maybe it has changed this year. Bitch, you will regret it. Restarting the Myth. Author, Feng Chao Huang. Chapter 205. Flora failed to get the recommendation spot as she wished and left the office with a smile. Sci-fi frowned as she watched the other party leave. She had no intention of bargaining, but that didn't mean she couldn't bargain. If she just left like this, there must be something wrong. The Natural Church has 7 major divisions in the God's Choice continent. Each division's high priest has 2 recommendation quotas. The Natural Church headquarters has another 4 recommendation quotas, for a total of 18 candidates. Flora can't get a spot in her, and it's even less likely in other divisions, even if Flora is the previous saint, with good looks and temperament, and a huge fan base. Those who chase stars are ordinary people, and high-level officials do not accept this trick. When Flora was still a saint, the high priests of each district treated her with great respect. After Flora came down, she was just a retired cotter with a pension. Her rank was not more than that of a priest, and her power was not as good as that of the high priest of the district. There was no benefit in selling her face. Sci-fi analyzed it and found that Flora could only get a recommendation quota from the headquarters. But the headquarters is in chaos. The Pope and the Great Prophet both want to control the next saint, and the Oracle High Priests are also ready to make a move. Who will give up the precious spot to Flora? Sci-fi thought about it, and it seemed like there was none. After thinking about it again, it seemed like it was all possible. Flora has been working as a saint for nearly 20 years. Except for the first few years when she was stationed in Paris, She has been working at the headquarters since then. Counting that she has been working full-time for 15 years, she must have made many connections in such a long time. A has-been saint with a strong sense of power. In order to return to the peak of her career, she did not hesitate to take the initiative to transfer to the division to defeat her former subordinates. The more 11 Faye thought about it, the more something was wrong. Flora must have support at headquarters. That's not right. The competition for places in the headquarters is too fierce, and it has always been exclusive. She lost once 20 years ago, and she will definitely win back this time, unless she is confident of winning and finds a partner with a transcendent status. Sci-fi looked at the recommendation form on the table and fell into deep thought. After a moment, she shook her head. She believed Flora had not given up more than the quota at the headquarters. This bitch would cause trouble recently. Landau Manor, study. Veronica and Wayne were sitting upright, and Ziffy placed 2 recommendation forms in front of them. The Natural Church is about to select a saint. Are you 2 interested? Veronica tilted her head and looked at Wayne curiously. Mother, can he also be a saint? Well, to be honest, I am actually a girl. Veronica rolled her eyes, feeling disgusted. Wayne, don't be ridiculous. Zi-Fei smiled and said, because of the status of the goddess, the tradition of the Natural Church has always been to select saints, but there is no explicit rule that only saints can be selected. If a young male magician is good enough, he can become the son who listens to the oracle. Then, Zi-Fei talked about the main job of the saint/child, conveying the oracle, maintaining the image of the goddess in the world, being the descendant of the goddess, etc. She wears many hats and is mainly responsible for publicity work. Wayne nodded and understood. He is usually an artistic soldier and can turn it on when necessary. At the same time, as the closest natural disciples of the goddess in the world, the saint and the saint have the opportunity to listen to the voice of the goddess, which is a rare gift for any magician. Zi-Fei looked at her daughter and students, trying to see the anticipation on their faces. The effect is average. Veronica tilted her head and looked at Wayne from the corner of her eye. Wayne had an expression of obeying the arrangement, and his desire for the Holy Son was not strong. Zi-Fei rubbed her temples. These were the 2 best cards in her hand, but they were both a bit unmotivated. It cannot be said that they do not strive for improvement. Both of them are extremely enthusiastic about belief in magic, but when it comes to the belief itself, they immediately become less enthusiastic. He blamed Austin. The bastard had been dictating to her back then. In private, he must have instilled in her daughter and heir the concept of freedom without belief. Thinking back to the past, Austin's face became ugly again. Let him fly a few more times tonight. Veronica, do you want to be a saint? Huh? Veronica thought seriously for a while. The saint's daily work is too heavy, and she also has to work at the church headquarters. I don't like traveling far away, and I have a bad temper. I'm afraid I will offend a lot of people. Veronica spoke tactfully, expressing her desire for the saint while also expressing her concerns about her own inadequacy. Seeing how entangled she was, Wayne kindly translated, "Teacher, what Veronica means is that she wants to fall in love." Bang! Veronica punched Wayne in the face, gritted her teeth and told him to stop talking nonsense. She would not fall in love, she would never fall in love in her life. Zi-Fei blinked. Little fool, you are clearly in love. What about you, Wayne? Follow the teacher's arrangements. If you ask me to sign up, I will sign up. Wayne patted his chest, focusing on filial piety. Veronica snorted and looked to the side in displeasure. Wayne, you don't want to fall in love. Teachers are more important than love. Wayne praised himself loudly, and then changed the topic. Besides, my love has never been fulfilled. The girl I like made me give up, saying that she would never fall in love in her life. Zi-Fei laughed directly, feeling extremely bitter in her heart. Veronica was just like her before. Even if she signed up, she would give up everything for love at the last moment. Wayne's situation is much the same. Sure enough, for children of this age, love is far more attractive than faith. Sci-fi really wanted to scold the two of them from the perspective of elders. Children should not rush into their personal relationship for a while. They should establish a career first and then a family. Career should be the priority. But when I think about it, one is the eldest lady of the Landeo family, and the other is the heir of the Landeo family. He is a silver mage at a young age and has been very successful in his career. Taking a step back, what she did back then, these words are really untenable. As expected of her child, this is up to her. Sci-fi laughed at herself and asked Wayne to think about it carefully. Although the son is busy with official duties, the benefits are real. She firmly believes in Wayne's talent. If he becomes the son and gets the guidance of the goddess, he will definitely become a legend in the future. After hearing this, Veronica couldn't help but advise Wayne that there are many benefits, so you can sign up and don't get into trouble with yourself. Wayne was secretly happy, but the expression on his face remained unchanged. "Teacher, you don't need to persuade me, I said it from the beginning, I don't care, your opinion is more important. To tell you the truth, there was once a man who boasted to me about his glorious history. About 20 years ago, how he deceived a candidate for a saint from the natural church, how he coaxed her into getting married, and how he had a smart and lovely daughter. I still remember that face clearly. Teacher, you don't know how proud he was at that time. He's smiling like this, GGGG. It's not convenient for me to say who it is specifically. I promised Austin Landau not to spread rumors, let alone say his name. X2. No, you already named them. X2. Sci-fi raised her eyebrows and increased the maximum flight radius tonight. Teacher, I heard that the saint candidate was not happy after marriage. She gave up opportunities for love and ended up asking for trouble. Wayne stood up from the sofa and said loudly, she has been waiting for an opportunity to prove herself. She is not fighting for this breath to get back what she lost, but to tell everyone that she is so amazing. To fight for this breath. As her student, I would rather not fall in love in this life than to help her get this feeling back. X2. Veronica stared at the garbage in society, her eyes in a trance, and the image of the trash can was taller than ever. At least it's taller than the previous generation trash can. Good boy, I know you are the best. Sci-fi was so moved that she took 2 steps forward and hugged the student. She knew that she only made a mistake once in her life, and she couldn't make a mistake every time. Wayne spoke out Sci-fi's feelings. The reason why she was hesitant was indeed selfish, and she wanted to prove herself through her students. If not for anything else, it's because of the bad vibes I've suffered from these years of wandering around. The more sensible Wayne became, the more Sci-fi couldn't bear it. For a while, her obsession dissipated a lot, and she wiped away her tears with a smile. Forget it, my sister has been through it. Children of your age should pursue more. 20 years is too long for unforgettable love. Don't give up your great youth for others. The teacher is none other than my most important family member. Sci-fi was so moved that she hugged Wayne tightly. There was still room in her arms, so she hugged Veronica together. For a time, the whole family was reunited and the atmosphere was extremely warm. Alston, spoken. There was no soundproof barrier in the study. Austin happened to pass by and eavesdropped. He felt that something was missing in the room, so he stood outside the door and hummed. The effect is average. Sci-fi was too lazy to answer, waved her hand and set up a soundproof barrier, and said to Wayne, the story that person told you is incomplete. The candidate for the saint may have been deceived and got married in a muddle, but she has no regrets, has a lovely daughter and a sensible student. She is very happy and does not want to break this happiness. As she spoke, She filled in Wayne and Veronica's names on the recommendation form. Mother. Veronica didn't understand why she had agreed to give up more simply. I have a very annoying person in London. She was the previous saint and my former competitor. She is arrogant in front of me all day long. She pretends to be a winner and mocks me as a loser. Sci-fi hummed, I'll give you a mission. If you meet the candidate she recommends, if you defeat the candidate, the mission will be completed. She didn't argue about saints, and encouraged Wayne and Veronica to seize the time to fall in love. But she would not fight or let Flora win. She threw out the king bomb in her hand and vowed to label Flora as a has-been saint. When Veronica heard that her mother had been wronged, she was immediately filled with indignation. She didn't even know who the candidate Flora recommended was, so she regarded her as her lifelong enemy. Wayne also nodded repeatedly. No matter who the other party was, he would be the first to help the teacher vent his anger. Teacher, is the new saint the Flora Evelina you mentioned to me before? That's her. This woman is very scheming. I haven't taken you to the division headquarters just to be on guard against her evil intentions, Sci-fi snorted coldly. Wayne raised his hand and touched his chin, his eyes flashing. Teacher, what does she look like? She's a pretty girl, and her skin looks good. Why do you ask? Sci-fi asked. I'm afraid she'll use a honey trap, so I'll take precautions in advance. That's right. Sci-fi thought about it for a while, and it was indeed the truth. Her students are so outstanding that unless they give up voluntarily, they will definitely be destined to be the Holy Sun when they sign up. The goddess will be wowed when she sees them. The candidate Flora recommended has a 0 chance of winning. She can't win head-on, so she can only resort to underhand tactics. In order to realize her ambition for power, she may really use the beauty trap herself. After sleeping with her, she made a big fuss, and her student lost the qualification of being a candidate. This is absurd, he is still a child. 11 Faye imagined that Flora laughed and held up her pants, and the student covered his face and sobbed helplessly. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, and her magic power almost went out of control. Veronica. She probably guessed what her mother was thinking about, and glared at the social trash unhappily. Based on the diary she had read in the past few months, she guessed the battle plan of the social trash. Veronica, you borrowed it to avenge your mother, and fell into the beauty trap. Anyway, you don't want to be the son of God, right? Wayne, don't slander good people. I didn't fall for your beauty trap the first 2 times you took off your clothes. Veronica, come to my room later and see how I deal with you. The two stared at each other, and Sci-fi waved her hand to push away a ball of green mist, shaping and portraying Flora's appearance with her mind. It's you. Wayne narrowed his eyes slightly to hide the murderous intent in his eyes. He recognized this face. That night when he confronted the Dark Knight, the teacher's sudden thought flashed, luring the 2 knights to chase him at the same time. Because of his cover, the Dark Knight was forced to give up the pursuit, and he used his supervision to see the true face of the teacher that night. Flora Evelina. She didn't know what means she used to make her mind exactly the same as Sci-fi's, offending the 2 knights at the same time, and causing a fatal disaster for Sci-fi. Wayne hated it secretly. To put it bluntly, if he wasn't the Death Knight, if he hadn't shown his obsession with the High Priest of the Church of Nature that night, the teacher would have been captured alive by the Dark Knight. The consequences were disastrous, and because it was the teacher, he didn't expand on it. Flora, right? You're dead. Since you like interacting with the knight so much, I will let you get what you want someday. Wayne sharpened his knife, ready to put on the vest of the Death Knight and kill the other party. It would be best if the Dark Knight was also present, so that he could put the blame on the other party. Hey, is it so beautiful? You keep staring at it without blinking, Veronica snorted heavily. It's really beautiful. Wayne's mouth corners were raised, and his white teeth reflected the cold light, which made Veronica feel a little cold. There is murderous intent. Sci-fi also noticed it and subconsciously said, Wayne, have you seen her? No, it's the first time we met. Wayne scratched his head with a well-behaved face. I don't know why, I always feel that this face is hateful. The candidate she recommended is miserable. I would rather not be the son of the saint than let him not be the saint. Veronica didn't understand where Wayne got so much hostility. Referring to the diary, she said sarcastically, what is your plan? Use the beauty trap to die with the other party. Great. Wayne clenched his fist and slapped his palm. Why didn't I think of it, Veronica? You are really a genius. I will do what you say when the time comes. Veronica was furious and wanted to clean up the shameless social garbage on the spot. Seeing that the relationship between the two was heating up, there would be some interactions next. She didn't want to be a light bulb, so she removed the soundproof barrier and pushed the door out of the study. Come with me, I have something to talk to you about X2. At the door, Sci-fi caught Austin, who was still passing by. In the study, Veronica grabbed Wayne's collar. Exactly the same. Austin did not resist, as resistance would only make the dragon blood more excited. Before leaving, he glanced at Wayne and told him to call back to the study room after he finished his work, as he had something to discuss. Wayne looked back and was dragged away by his own dragon blood. 5 minutes later, with the sound of cannon fire coming from behind, Wayne saw Austin in the grove. No need to go to the study room, just talk here. Wayne raised his hand to comb his hair, tidied up his black back hair, and straightened up his messy clothes, saying, Austin, what do you want from me? If it's the selection of the Son of God, I've already promised the teacher. After finishing tidying up his clothes and hairstyle, Austin said coldly, why did you agree to her? You should not be interested in the Son of God. I'm interested in the saint. 20 years ago, the teacher failed in the election for the saint, and gave up for love. Because of this, she suffered a lot of grievances and risked her life to get the current position of high priest. Wayne babbled, repeating the touching filial words, I can help the teacher prove herself, and I am willing to do so. Austin was speechless, and after a while he said, you are the heir of the family, you can't become the son of the saint. 20 years is too long. If the Ministry of Magic knows. If the Ministry of Magic knows, the minister will definitely support it with all his strength. I understand the reason. The heir of the tulip family becomes the son of the Church of Nature. If he is not careful, he will die. Wayne took over. It's good that you know. The teacher also knows that she has no intention of letting me become the Son of God. She asked me to sign up for another reason. Wayne told the truth, emphasizing Flora, this woman has no good intentions. She wants to drive the teacher away so that she can become the high priest. I will kill the candidate she nominated, help the teacher get back at her, and finally give up the election of the Son of God. Austin's face looked much better, and he said faintly, I know who Flora is. To be honest, there is nothing wrong with her driving your teacher away. The church is too chaotic. It is safer to get out in time. Wayne did not refute, but nodded, indeed, the Dark Knight is ruthless and ruthless. He wiped out the headquarters of London once, and he would not mind coming again a second time. Don't forget the Death Knight, he's not a good guy either. Who said he wasn't? The two nodded in agreement and cursed at the same time. Damn Dark Knight. Damn Death Knight. At this time, Megan came to the grove with a medical kit, looked at the two people in front of her like they were looking in the mirror, and said expressionlessly, Master, Master, there is only one gauze, who will go first? Me first X2. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Feng Chao Huang. Chapter 206. After getting Wayne's promise, Austin no longer insisted and took the gauze from Megan with his priority as the master. Wayne curled his lips. If it was Fula, the gauze would definitely belong to him. Megan, I want to pet the cat. Okay, young master, please wait. Megan finished bandaging Austin and turned to the big house to find the cat. Austin followed her and prepared to start his daily misery. It doesn't matter whether the wife believes it or not, but the attitude should be correct. As far as I know, the selection of the saint of the Church of Nature takes at least half a year, and there are many processes. After Sci-fi submitted the recommendation form, someone from the headquarters will come to verify and evaluate whether you are qualified as a candidate. Austin is very experienced in the selection process of the saint, having experienced it once 20 years ago. Although she is a high priestess and a native of London, she became famous in Paris and has a weak control over the Windsor district. The saint named Flora will make some small moves recently. You should be careful not to let the other party catch her handle. For example, you are a little too close to the high priest of the Moonlight Church. Austin reminded, and you are very close to the Heavenly Father Church. These are all deductions. Flora can pull you down with a little trick and create public opinion. What about my identity as the heir of the Landau family? This is a plus point. The Ministry of Magic has no good intentions, and the Church of Nature is the same. Remember not to really become the Son of God. I understand. You'd better understand. Austin snorted coldly, and couldn't help but said angrily, and your terrible private life. How many people did you bring to the cinema? All friends. Female friends who booked the theater. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't have many friends. There are only a few of them. Austin was so angry that he didn't want to talk. He came to the front of the big house and happened to meet Megan holding Monica. Without saying a word, he pulled the cat into his arms. He stroked it very hard. Monica rolled her eyes, as if her soul had been stroked away. Wayne looked at it greedily and stretched out his hand to stroke it together. Meow meow meow. Paris, the underground tomb. The tomb passage made of piled bones is winding and twisting, shaped like a huge underground maze. Walking in it, you can hear low roars from time to time, and the wailing of the dead is creepy. Death is frightening. It makes people fear the impermanence of life, but also makes people know how to cherish life. No matter how rich you are in your life and how noble your status is, you will only be a randomly discarded dry bone after death. Cherish the present and cherish your short life. If you can't extend the length of your life, then expand the width of your life. Perhaps the original meaning of the underground tomb is like this, but it is definitely not now. The creator and owner of the tomb, the notorious Death Knight, is now just a poor puppet without a head, horse, or sword. He cannot represent death, his honor was deprived by the devil, and he became the devil's knight walking in the world. In the central area of the underground tomb, a forbidden place surrounded by death, countless bones are piled up into a mountain, and the air is filled with dead silence and solemnity. At the top of the bone mountain, the bone throne stands quietly, silently accompanying its master. The head of 800,000 ghost soldiers, the headless knight. The knight who had lost almost everything sat on the throne, his tattered death cloak fluttering without wind, as if he was recalling the past when he rode a horse and whipped a whip. It was hard to guess what he was thinking without seeing his head. Even if you saw it, you couldn't guess it, after all, it was a skull. LE.jpg. Suddenly, a black wind blew, and a man in a black robe walked out of the space crack. The black one-piece robe covered the whole body, and the face and facial features were covered by the rolling black fog, and only a pair of beating red eyes could be seen. Great Death Knight, my master has something to say to you. The black-robed man bowed slightly and expressed his respect to the Death Knight. He seemed to be used to the headless knight's silence, with red light beating in his palm and sticky blood flowing down. These black bloods seem to have self-awareness, more like some kind of parasites, spreading along the circle after landing, interweaving into a complex inverted pentagram pattern. The black-robed man groaned in pain, with a strange tone mixed with a bit of satisfaction, and his body slowly melted, merging into the magic circle under his feet along with the black robe. Dark light bloomed, projecting a black portal on the dome of the great tomb. Then, shadows fell one after another, hanging in the air and dancing with dark light. Roughly counting, there were about 20 of them. Devil Alliance. The oppression of the 7 demon kings brought these demons together. After years of planning, they got the head of the Death Knight, and then used the power of the underground tomb to allow their mind projection to enter the world. Knight, when will Paris's Hell Gate open? How long are you going to delay? The obelisk failed again. I am very disappointed. We promised you that as long as you meet the requirements, we will return the head to you. You disappointed me again, Knight. Thoughts collided, stirring up chaos in the space, and the breath of terror spread, shaking the mountain of bones. Although the Devil's Alliance is strong, it is not peaceful internally. So far, they have not elected a leader who can win the support of the people, which can be seen from their noisy words. Generally speaking, the second in command or the military advisor will speak first, and then the leader will make the final decision. Stop arguing. You ask so many questions. How should the knight answer? A voice of thought resounded, which seemed to have great prestige in the alliance and stopped the chaotic scene. For a while, the underground tomb was much quieter. The weak kept silent. Only 3 demons with higher status were qualified to speak. The headless knight said nothing and let the 3 thoughts bombard him in turn. Even if the other party threatened his head, he always remained self-centered and calm. Seeing that nothing could be asked, the Devil Alliance collectively dispatched, unsealed the head of the headless knight, and forcibly modified his will. The headless knight's body trembled, and the tattered grey cloak danced with fangs and claws, manifesting a decayed skull face in the air, and confided his own pain through the voice of the dead. The dead knight went offline, and the knight of the Devil Alliance logged in. The headless knight sealed his own mind, forgot Wayne's appearance, and could not find the Shadow Nightmare. This was his last resistance, and the Devil Alliance was helpless. After all, they are elites who have been in hell, strong men who have climbed up on the sea of blood and corpses. They need to have brains and plans. They are indirect and persuasive, and soon found the root cause of the Dullahan's illness. The goddess of death has given up her knights. The new chosen one has come. He has become a thing of the past. He is worthless except for the identity of the master of the underground tomb. The beautiful female voice bursts out of thought. Impossible, the goddess of death does not care about her knights. Without the new chosen one, he has always been the Death Knight. No, the chosen one has come, and the Shadow Nightmare has a new owner. That doesn't mean that death has given up on him. It should be that he took the initiative and sent his power out of Paris. What a loyal knight, who gave up his honor for his faith. He entrusted his honor to the new Death Knight, revealed information to the other party and took away the sealed book. The location is Windsor-on-Dan. The gate of hell has not yet opened. We can't come. How about copying the previous plan? Can we succeed? If you succeed once, you can succeed the second time. The new knight will also successfully send away the Shadow Nightmare. There is no point in the cycle. That's right, and it takes too much time. With this time, the gates of hell are open. X3. Lend me your power and let my thoughts descend to the human world. Only in this way can we completely solve the Death Knight and take back the sealed book. Hee, why don't I descend to the human world? I am more suitable. Devils are like this. Alliances are formed out of need, vigilance is based on trust, and betrayal is purely professional ethics. It is better to expect them to hold a democratic vote than to expect the alliance to disintegrate on the spot. The 3 devils knew it. They had experienced similar conversations many times, and each time they ended in vain. If nothing unexpected happens, nothing unexpected will happen this time. The three devils retreated and gathered their strength to let their familiars descend to the human world, one for each person, and no one was allowed to be greedy. The other devils were immediately dissatisfied. Your familiars have come, but they use our power. We finally have hope for the gate of hell, but we have to wait a long time if we do this. That's right, we don't agree. Unless my familiars also come to the world. And me. There was another series of noises, and the three devils didn't speak. They waited until their allies had expressed their opinions before they slowly spoke. The Thousand Eyes demon died in London, which is very dangerous. Your familiars will be useless there. Sign the supplementary regulations, and our three familiars will not accumulate power in the world. Unity leads to victory, and the alliance was established for this reason. If we continue to quarrel, the 7 demon kings will always be the masters of hell, and we will always be losers. The 3 devils divided the work in harmony and joined forces to CPU other devils. The effect was not outstanding, but it was absolutely useless. They were all devils, and each of them had several plans. No one would be stupid enough to trust their peers. The Dullahan looked at the scene and couldn't help but chuckle. Even a familiar had to argue for a long time, and they wanted to drag one of the 7 demon kings down. Dream on. Perhaps the Dullahan's chuckle was too harsh, or the obelisk was too important. The devils blocked the Death Knight and argued endlessly about their thoughts. It took 2 hours to reach an agreement. It was already very efficient. In hell, it would take at least 2 months to negotiate. The efficiency was more frustrating than the House of Commons in Windsor. The results of the discussion were as follows. Everyone took a step back. The 3 upper devils paid part of their territory, signed supplementary regulations, and let their familiars descend into the underground tomb. The target was the new Death Knight, taking back the sealed book, and putting the shadow the nightmare was delivered to the Death Knight of the Alliance. On the dome of the great tomb, the black door trembled violently, and lines intertwined and fell. The minds of a group of demons worked together to pry open the seal between hell and the human world, and sent 3 familiars to the human world. First it was a projection, and then it became real. At a certain intersection between the human world and hell, a white bone door trembled slightly, as if it had breathing, rhythmic sulfur heat. On the white pillar not far away, the golden rule of the angel was written: those who enter here, please give up all hope. The gate of hell. In front of the door is the angel's warning, telling the intruder that there is hell ahead, and it is not too late to turn back now. The white bone door is made up of staggered ribs, which is the entrance to hell. The Devil Alliance successfully avoided the seal imposed by heaven through the power of the underground great tomb, causing the ribs to open to both sides, starting an uneven black passage. The process is very complicated. If you are not careful, you will trigger the seal and attract the angels to watch. The devils were cautious and threw 3 figures from hell to the human world at the moment the passage was opened. The camera returned to the underground tomb. The black door of the dome shrank, as if it was seriously injured, and the last bit of strength was squeezed out. Under the mountain of bones, 3 figures slowly opened their eyes, took a breath of the filthy breath of the human world, and showed excitement. This is the human world. Even a fart is full of the fragrance of freedom, which is far from the sulfur smell of hell. In short, the human world is good, too fragrant. There are 2 male and 1 female servants. Well, just looking at the appearance, the servants can be regarded as devils. They are all devils, and the gender cannot be too rigid. The black shadow on the left-hand side is burly and strong like a small mountain. The muscle lines under the scales are clear. Even in a static state, you can feel the powerful energy flowing in his body. This figure has a bloody mouth, fine scales all over the body, and a thick long tail swinging behind it, with some physical features of a giant dragon. He bowed and looked at his master, and his tall body shrank, turning into a bald strong man 2 meters tall. He was covered with a black robe, with a face full of flesh and scarlet eyes, just short of a devil tattoo on his face. The black shadow in the middle seemed to be a crow, with a black body, reflecting the dark metal light, a black beak with fangs, and a slender neck like a snake. After bowing to the master, it turned into a human. He wore a suit jacket, a gentleman's hat, leather shoes, gloves, and a civilized cane, and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He had handsome features and a humble smile, a true aristocratic elite. The last black shadow was made of the upper half of a woman's body and a spider. His long black hair fell, covering his white and plump chest, with a bloated spider abdomen and slender legs, giving people a kind of dark beauty of decadence and evil. She bowed to her master and transformed into a fair-skinned black-haired beauty, wearing a black backless evening gown. The fabric was high-end and smooth, and her soft curves were visible. She waved her hand and shaped a huge black wide-brimmed sun hat with her mind. Her long hair was tied up at the back of her head, and she put on the sun hat to cover her seductive face. XN. The devils were silent for a long time. They had the momentum and the pattern, and they had the temperament of Hell's special envoys. There was almost nothing wrong with it. But aren't you three too ostentatious? This look is obviously problematic. Let alone going to Windsor, I'm afraid you will be questioned by the clergy of the church as soon as you walk out of the underground tomb. Change it, something ordinary. 5 seconds later, the passerby combination of dock sailor and old shoemaker and factory female worker was freshly baked. This is a sure thing. Go to London, find the new Death Knight, and give him some hell shocks. Yes, Sir X3. He XN. Moonlight Church, Library. The church base was renovated, and the once dilapidated cathedral was restored to its original state. Church members transferred from all over the country walked in it. The full moon was hanging high, the waterfall splashed, and the scene of vigorous vitality and all things competing was still in front of us. The office of the high priest. Pushing open the wardrobe, you can see the living room and study. The full moon was hanging high outside the floor-to-ceiling window, and the cold moonlight sprinkled silver light. The battlefields such as sofas, bathtubs, desks, and double beds were all in line. The high priest was too lazy to act, so he turned his office into a love nest and asked his boyfriend to come over for intimacy. What, you want to participate in the selection of the saint of the natural church? The Son of God. Even the Son of God is not allowed. Philomena grasped the key point and couldn't help laughing. You are not pure. What qualifications do you have to become the Son of God? Don't talk nonsense, I have always been pure, okay. Wayne was not convinced. Although he was like this and that, he knew that he was a good boy, pure as a blank sheet of paper. Philomena rolled her eyes and teased, the natural church is really open. In our moonlight church, I eliminated you in the first round. It's all your fault as the high priest. If it weren't for you, I would definitely be pure. I don't believe you. Philomena lay on her boyfriend's shoulder and warned him, quit the selection immediately. Don't joke about the belief in God. Impure is impure. There is no chance. Once God descends, your filthy soul will instantly turn into ashes. Be careful. Wayne asked curiously, will God also look through the memory of the descended body? Otherwise, you have no secrets in front of God. Philomena bit Wayne's ear. She had finally waited for a shoulder to entrust her life to. She didn't want to be a widow at such a young age. In order to make Wayne give up the idea of the Son of God, she turned over and rode on him to take him down. She didn't turn over, and was pressed by Wayne. Don't mess around, I still have to participate in the selection of the Son of God. Don't think about tarnishing my innocent body. Excuse me, you are not innocent. Hey, you are so proud. Wayne held Philomena's strong heartbeat. Tell me, What are the processes of selecting the saint and the Son of God? Is the life alliance a process? It's almost a process. When necessary, the saint can be shared. Share. Well, there were heavy casualties during the War of Faith, and there was a record of saints sharing. Philomena thought for a while, I have seen documents in the church headquarters. It was a long time ago, and the exact time was not marked. I only know that the Life Alliance had been established at that time, and our enemies are darkness and death. Do darkness and death also share a saint? Not sure. Philomena shook her head and returned to the previous topic. She really cared about Wayne and advised, the goddess cannot be desecrated. Don't joke with your life. For the sake of our children, don't compete for the son of the saint. Child, Wayne's face turned pale. Yet. Philomena leaned on Wayne's shoulder. Although she hadn't done it yet, she had already thought of a name. She squinted her eyes and said, the boy will be named Damien and the girl will be named Helena. What do you think? Wayne. Equals. Speak up. I think there is a man named Clark on the chosen continent. He is the love of my life. Ah. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 207. The love of your life is a man, so who am I? Philomena sat up in shock, but since Wayne was a Windsor, Lenbuting was a little bit convinced. Do you still like men? She was doubtful, raised her hands, and tangled her fingertips in her hair, as if she had just woken up in the morning and stretched her body. Her eyes were lazy and charming. Wayne looked on expressionlessly, and little Wayne responded positively. I almost got fooled by you. Philomena secretly smiled in her heart, very satisfied with her little boyfriend's performance. Who is Clark? Do you care about him very much? I don't know him, but I feel like he will become my lifelong enemy. If you are interested, you can investigate, Wayne said seriously. What if it's really found out? Philomena wrote down the name, leaned down and lay on Wayne's chest, drawing circles with her fingertips and saying, I still say what I said, don't be the Holy Son. This has nothing to do with my status as the high priest of the Moonlight Church. As a woman, I warn you, God is not to be blasphemed. Wayne kept these words in mind and chose to believe half of them. Rather than saying that God cannot be blasphemed, it is better to say that the majesty of the strong cannot be blasphemed. Wayne's attitude towards gods has always remained unchanged, calling them the strong men of the founding era. Whether they are the five goddess, Heavenly Father, or the fallen storm and thunder, they are all gods. The former has achieved the faith of the new era and is blessed with infinite glory. The latter fell into the dust without a trace, not even leaving a name. God is not eternal, God will die. God is not omnipotent or omniscient. Wayne could cite many similar examples. Like the Death Knight, if God is really omnipotent, why doesn't he save his own knight and let the headless horseman be played by a group of devils? If God really knows everything, why are there two Death Knights in the world, and why do they allow false oracles to be preached to make Lundan's death belief fair and just? These are typical examples, especially the former. God may not care, but the devil's control of the headless horseman is equivalent to riding on the face of the goddess of death. It doesn't matter. With such a good temper, it doesn't matter what kind of religious war he is engaged in. It doesn't matter. He is better off squatting in the corner and admiring himself. Tell Wayne, God cannot be blasphemed, but he doesn't understand. Tell him, the majesty of the strong cannot be blasphemed, and he immediately understands. Stop touching me and talk to me. Philomena said seriously, if you withdraw from the selection of the Holy Son, you cannot become the Holy Son. Mina, let me tell you something, I am competing for the Holy Son for your own good. You see, I became the Holy Son of the natural church and then I was at your mercy. The Moonlight Church only sacrificed the purity of a high priest and tainted the Holy Son of the natural church. Add another stroke to your resume, and I will be Moonlight from now on. The Pope of the Church. Wayne's thinking was divergent, and the more he thought about it, the more he made sense. He is Philomena's pretty boy plus Philomena becomes the Pope of the Moonlight Church equals the pretty girl and the saints study the luminous script. With a head start, the equation can be established. Wayne nodded repeatedly. Really, in half a year, you can hold the Holy Son of the Natural Church under your body, aren't you very excited? Philomena. There's something wrong with your brain. The high priest was not interested in the son's car, so he showed off his authority and gave his little boyfriend a lesson. Her opinion remained unchanged. She should quit the selection of the son as soon as possible and don't seek death. Okay, I won't kid you. Actually, I'm not interested in the Holy Son. I signed up to help the teacher get rid of an enemy. Wayne briefly told the cause and effect. Philomena breathed a sigh of relief, then became a little jealous. You are so kind to your teacher. As far as I know, she is your stepmother, right? Well. Mom. Wayne rolled his eyes wildly. Regarding his relationship with Austin, the well-documented information is basically that the child was an illegitimate child. Whether it was the child of he remains to be investigated. It's hard to say how this rumor became popular, and what's even more outrageous is that the vast majority of people believe it. Seeing as Austin has never rebutted in public, or his rebuttal is limited, we know that Laodan is suspected of adding fuel to the flames. Don't be silly. She is my teacher, nothing more. She is not my biological mother or stepmother, but she does treat me as a son. Wayne patted his butt and never mentioned his mother-in-law. The aristocratic circle is really chaotic. You nobles are so tired. Philomena looked understanding. No wonder Wayne asked her to be patient before. In this relationship, she really should be patient. After all, he is the elder in the family. You, forget it, as long as you understand. Wayne gave up explaining and acquiesced that he was Austin's illegitimate son. That night, a passenger plane landed at London Airport. The combination of dock sailor and old shoemaker and female factory worker left the airport and walked into the thick fog. This mist is weird. It's the realm of mist. Sealed. Even though the seal still leaks a lot of the four elements, the world is really prosperous. Malleus, your master has signed a supplementary clause. Don't do anything unnecessary. Our mission target is only the Death Knight. Gain, you have no right to give me orders. I know what I want to do. Three figures walked through the thick fog, their abject images slowly changing, and the combination of big guy and gentleman and lady returned. Everyone loves beauty, and devils are no exception. They care about their image very much. The sturdy familiar was named Marius. He took a deep breath, greedily plundered the four elements around him, and said directly, the Death Knight is hiding in London. It is not difficult to find him. I will go to the base of the Church of Death to wait for him. What about you two? The Knight's ability is very powerful. I suggest collecting intelligence first, and then making plans against his weaknesses after confirming that it is correct. Gain, who was dressed as a gentleman, said. The former Death Knight was indeed very powerful, but his power was divided into two. The current successor has just obtained the Shadow Nightmare. He can't be our opponent. Marius looked at Gain with contempt. Your cowardice will only bring shame to your master. Gain was not angry either. He looked at the noble lady in the black evening dress swaying beside him. Juliet, what do you think? Should we ambush the Death Knight with Marius, or collect intelligence with me? Juliet raised her wide-brimmed sun hat, half of her face was seductive and noble, and the corners of her black lips were slightly raised. It's not easy to come to the human world. There's no rush for work. I plan to enjoy it first. Too trash. Marius snorted coldly, turned around and stepped into the thick fog, disappearing into the darkness. Good luck, Marius, I hope you can send the shock of hell to the Death Knight. Gain stroked his chest with one hand, and the gentleman looked at the cannon fodder and left. He turned to look at Juliet, and extended his hand to invite her. "Juliet, do you want to enjoy the wealth of the world with me?" "No, you are too dangerous." Juliet turned into the darkness and disappeared without a trace. "Well, instead of guarding against each other, it is better to do our own things." Seeing this, Gain sighed. This is how devils are. Even if they have the same mission, they don't trust each other. In addition, there is another reason for separation. In order to calm the anger of the public, the masters of the three familiars were willing to cede part of the territory and signed a supplementary regulation. The contract stipulates that the world belongs to the Devil Alliance. The supplementary regulations stipulate that the three familiars come early and cannot develop faith for their masters in the world. Just like the alliance is to betray better, the agreement is the same. The average moral quality of devils is low, and there is no integrity. The contract agreement is the only proof of their mutual trust. It is a constraint and a liberation. There are many ways to interpret simple contracts, and there are many loopholes in complex contracts. The devils with low moral quality can always find excuses and reasons to fulfill the contract and achieve their goals. Gain had another mission from his master, and he believed that Marius and Juliet were the same. The three familiars were destined to act alone, so there was no need to keep them. But first, Gain looked in the direction where Marius disappeared, his figure hidden in the darkness. "You and your master are both idiots. I'll borrow your brain to try how much power the Death Knight has left." Commercial Street, Dawn Detective Agency. A tall and strong figure stepped in front of the detective agency, looked at the dark store, raised his hand to crush the door lock, and strode into it. In the morning, he was still in hell, and at night he arrived at the crime scene. The devil's execution ability can be seen. Switch to a positive character, and he is still in a meeting now. It's not even dawn yet, and it's closed in the middle of the night. The belief in death is too lazy. Marius did not find the base of the Church of Death. Unlike the Life Alliance, death and darkness have not formed a climate in London, and occasionally they will be suppressed by the Life Alliance. Putting aside the two Knights of Darkness and Death, the Dawn Detective Agency is the only death force that has developed into a force of its own. The belief in fairness and justice is quite popular in London. Soon, the trigger magic of the detective agency sounded an alarm, and two magicians from the Church of Death came to check. With a bang, two black-robed figures flew out and fell heavily to the ground. Their boneless bodies twisted into a knot, and blood flowed. It was obvious that they were dying. "Who are you?" Abio, who came after hearing the news, had a fierce look on his face. The tragic death of his two subordinates made him furious. He suppressed his anger and rationally asked the identity of the provocateur. "Who are you?" Malleus looked at the undead in front of him. "I am not interested in small fish. Let the Death Knight come to see me and say that a devil is looking for him." "Another devil?" Abio was speechless. First, the so-called Thousand Eyes demon, and then the devil of unknown origin, all came uninvited to see his master. How many devils are hidden in London? After the last experience, Abio knew that the devil in front of him was dead. Although his master didn't look decent, he was definitely a good person. The Thousand Eyes demon was the best example. He said as usual, "I am the servant of the Death Knight. You can contact the master and go to the West District Cemetery." "Wait, my master will show up when he wants to see you." "What an arrogant servant." Marius laughed loudly, his words full of disdain. "I want to see him now, let him come immediately." "Who are you?" Abio narrowed his eyes slightly. He was not friendly. Unlike the previous Thousand Eyes demon, this devil was looking for trouble. "Tell your master that my name is Marius, and I came from hell for him." "Wait." Abio turned around and pressed the brim of his hat. 3 days later, I will convey your request to the master. If you are lucky, you will see my master in 10 days. Marius sneered, his body was like lightning, and he came behind Abio in an instant, and swung his fist as big as a sandbag and chopped it down, pressing Abio to the ground. With a snap, water splashed everywhere. Malius looked at the water stains at his feet and raised his eyebrows slightly. Interesting magical life, the power of the Death Knight does not seem to have weakened, but ordinary stuff. Such weak magical life, 10,000 are not enough for him to kill. Malius's mind diverged, locked onto the escaping Abio, and chased after him as fast as lightning. In the sewer, Abio merged into the water flow and rushed to the West District Cemetery at the fastest speed. At the same time, he contacted his master to report that the devil broke into the Dawn Detective Agency. The devil's name is Malius, and he came from hell specifically for the Death Knight. Who is this? Where did so many devils come from? Tano. One by one, why don't you go find the angels, but stare at the Death Knight? Wayne pulled away the jade arm wrapped around his neck, muttered and sat up, raised his hand to pick up clothes and pants from under the bed. Philomena woke up by her side. Seeing Wayne's thief-like appearance, she snorted coldly and turned her head. What's wrong with letting you stay overnight? I wronged you, didn't I? I suddenly remembered an important thing to do. Next time, next time. Wayne held Philomena's shoulders, lowered his head and gave her a deep kiss. After he was done with his mouth, he put on his clothes and pants. Focus on efficiency. Seeing the bastard climb out the window and leave, and sending her away with a kiss, Philomena was angry and annoyed, and picked up a pillow and threw it at him. It didn't hit. If you have the guts, just die outside, don't come back, there are many men, at worst I can change my boyfriend. I really changed. There was no response outside the window. Philomena became even more angry, and hit the pillow hard. Wayne, on his side, escaped into the sewer at the fastest speed, turned around and drilled into the flood control channel, summoned Shadow Nightmare to transform into a Death Knight, and rode the undead warhorse straight to the West District Cemetery. At the same time, he contacted Aubin and asked him to rush to the West District Cemetery. Don't rush to show up, Abio will not die, so ambush first. Immediately afterwards, Mona also received the same order and ambushed in the distance of the West District Cemetery, waiting for orders to act. West District Cemetery. The fog was thick and lifeless. The cemetery was pitch dark and strange phosphorescent lights were floating. It was so quiet that it was scary. Abio got out of the sewer. The fog was so thick that he guessed that his teammate Aubin was nearby. Boom! A figure fell from the sky, smashing a big pit like a cannonball, and the soil and grass were flying everywhere. The thick fog spread to the surrounding area like a tide. Malius looked at Abio with a face full of flesh and grinned, "Why don't you run away, or is this the place you chose to be buried? No one can kill me except my master." Abio led Malius to the cemetery, and the task of protecting the safety of civilians was completed. He was sure that Aubin was nearby and started the second task. He pulled out the gun from his waist and pulled the trigger continuously. His strong supervision allowed him to capture the movement trajectory of Malice. He didn't waste a single bullet and all of them hit accurately. Malice looked at Abio with interest. "You are not an ordinary magical life. The Death Knight has transformed you. It's not bad to kill time. Devil, what are you looking for my master for?" Abio frowned, and all the bullets with magic power hit, without any bleeding, and were all bounced off by the opponent's strong muscles and skin. "When your master appears, he will know." Malice laughed grimly, and when the voice fell, he had come behind Abio, holding his head with one hand and his gun-holding arm with the other hand, and tore it off with a hiss. Abio with a broken arm turned into water and dispersed. It may be that he used sewer water to disgust Malice. It retains the original taste, original flavor, and very pure. The filth was splashed all over him, and Malice was furious. He tore his black robe to pieces and wiped it on his face randomly. So this is the devil from hell. It smells really bad. Fortunately, I'm dead, otherwise I would have been suffocated to death by you. Abio walked out of the thick fog and covered his mouth and nose with a gentleman's hat. He used to be an upright policeman, but now, like an owner, you raise a dog like him. Like Aben, his eloquence is getting better and better. Malice appeared in front of Abio like lightning, and his fist as big as a sandbag carried a heat wave through it, evaporating Abo's body. The remaining force did not stop, hitting the ground and collapsing, pushing away the surrounding fog. Rat in the sewer, can you only hide? Malice looked at the thick fog area with red eyes. Abio hid in the fog, frantically provoking Malice's nerves, trying to find out the other party's true ability. Out of the Tame River Basin, his own strength was limited, with only a few light and heavy means, unable to cause effective damage to the strong enemy. Fortunately, the spirit of vengeance can borrow the magic power of its master and grow stronger with the growth of its master. After Wayne became a silver wizard, Abio was strengthened synchronously according to the contract of the Book of Greed, and his strength was improved, otherwise he could not fight at all. His supervision locked onto Marius, and when the opponent's muscles were tense, Abio used the same trick again and used his substitute again. Unlike before, the water in his body was out of control, and the whole person froze in place and could not move. He could only watch the sandbag-sized fist approach his face. Boom! Marius smashed Abo's head with a punch, his eyes glowed red, and he grinned. The devil is not a reckless man, the same move can't work again and again. As he said, he grabbed Abo's body and tore it into pieces with his arms. A calf flew high and hit the tombstone in the cemetery. Next to the tombstone, the Death Knight rode his warhorse, silent and silent. Yulia lowered her head and arched her motionless calf. Is it Abio? Why don't you speak? Death Knight, you are finally here. Malice turned around, his eyes were bloodshot, and white smoke spread from the corners of his mouth. What a cold master, watching the loyal servant being killed without helping. My dog, I didn't nod, and even if God came, he couldn't kill him. Wayne pulled out the Shadow Nightmare, and the ruby at the end of the hilt shone brightly. In an instant, the grey death air swept away, and the parts belonging to Abio slowly rose, floating in one place and regrouping. In Malice's surprised eyes, they were all restored together with the beige windbreaker. Death has this kind of power? Malice didn't understand. The Death Knight might be able to revive the undead infinitely, but how to explain the windbreaker? This is a bit outrageous. My master, I failed to defeat my opponent, and your glory has been tarnished. Abio bowed and half knelt, speaking more and more socially. If he had this flattering mouth before, he would definitely not be stuffed into a cement barrel to fill the river. It's okay, you did a good job, go to the surrounding area to guard, don't let anyone disturb me. Wayne sat on the warhorse, and the black skeleton was jumping with white light. It's the belief of blood, you controlled the corrupted blood in Abo's body, you are the servant of the blood tyrant. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 208. You saw it? My name is Malias, and I am the familiar of the Blood Lord, and I was ordered to arrive in the human world. Malias's eyes were scarlet, and he didn't intend to hide anything. He raised his hands and conjured two heavy weapons crystallized with blood. A broadsword as wide as a door panel, and a heavy axe that requires both hands to wield. He looked at Wayne provocatively. Death Knight, no, the new Death Knight, you stole the Blood Lord's Book of Sealings twice in a row. Hand over the Shadow Nightmare and the Book of Sealings. I will intercede with the Master and leave your brain forges the Holy Grail. That means there's nothing to talk about? Wayne laughed out loud. The bald man opposite him didn't look very smart. He had traded his IQ for a body full of tendons. He explained everything before asking. The headless horseman's side was exposed. The devil has the power to bring his familiars to earth. The familiar comes from Frank. Wayne analyzed a lot of information in an instant, and secretly said that the devil controlling the headless horseman was not just one person, but a group of demons. The blood tyrant has the ability to descend on his own familiar, but what about other demons? The blood tyrant can let his familiars descend. Why didn't he do this when he was on Dragonheart Island? Are there any restrictions on descending? As for the seal of heaven that was promised, the devil is taking advantage of it, so what do the angels do for food? Wayne asked 3 questions in a row and sentenced Malias to death. The devil is too dangerous. Even if he is a familiar, he cannot be allowed to stay in the world for a long time. Kill it at all costs. On the skull's face, white light suddenly jumped. Yulia screamed, broke through the space in front and entered the portal, carrying Wayne to Maria's side. The shadow nightmare fainted with brilliant white light and chopped Maria's head directly. Malias roared angrily and held the shadow nightmare with his broadsword. His strong body was pushed back by the powerful impact of the undead horse. But there was a sharp click, and the crystal broadsword was no match for the artifact shadow nightmare. The cracks in the sword's body opened, as if it would break in the next second. Malias cast faith magic again, his mind stabilized the shape of the broadsword, his muscles tightened, and he plowed the ground with his feet to reduce the impact energy of the undead war horse. He roared in his throat, exerted force with one arm, expanded his thick arm in a circle, raised the heavy axe hanging on the ground high, swung it round and hit Wayne's head. Boom! The axe blade touched the white skull, bursting into sparks, and the surging air of death spread. The corrupted heavy axe turned into dirty blood, and the dirty blood turned into ashes and dispersed. At the same time, a portal opened under Yulia's feet, and she quickly fell into it with the help of top-down force. Marius held swords in both hands to guard the surrounding area. Black shadows fell from the sky, and the portal opened above his head. Uriah trampled with all 4 hooves and breathed out purple magic flames to burn Malias's body. Wayne turned his hand and danced a sword flower, and the white-edged knight's sword fell down on his head. In the flash of lightning, Malias raised his sword to block, while his eyes glowed with blood and energy rays shot out. The red light touched the peaceful death, and it moved extremely slowly, almost being drowned by death in the blink of an eye. The shadow nightmare fell from top to bottom, cutting off the crystal broadsword. Hiss! There was a scream and blood flowed freely. Malias covered his broken arm and jumped aside. But even so, you dare to act recklessly in this world with your little strength, and you woke up my sweet dream for nothing. With Wayne's sword across his side, Yulia raised his hoof and trampled the severed arm on the ground. The air of death swept in, corrupting the severed arm into withered bones. The white arm bones turned dark yellow, were trampled into pieces by the horse's hooves, and finally turned into mud and merged into the earth. The blood spurted from Malias's severed arm, and the amount of eruption was astonishing, and he began to release the flood as if he was desperate for his life. On the ground, blood gathered into a river, and undulating monster figures swung their teeth and claws in the Styx River. Under the influence of blood magic, the Red River rumbled and rolled up, with the potential to turn into a lake of blood. Wayne was unhurried, his cloak dancing behind him, and the grey death energy turned into tentacles and spread out, blending into the omnipresent fog, eating away at the Styx in all directions. It's a small scene, nothing to be afraid of. On the west side of the cemetery, Aubin controlled the thick fog and assisted his master in swallowing the blood of the Styx. Abio stood aside and used his supervision to explore the surrounding area. Soon, he spotted a figure hiding behind a tree. The white battle uniform of the Holy See with a golden cross pattern painted on the back. Mona. Abio frowned, feeling as if he had seen this face somewhere before. He asked Aubin confusedly and got an answer from a secretary. What kind of secretary does a skeleton look like? And this secretary? Like the staff of Wayne Detective Agency across the street. Abio was silent, he didn't dare to speak, he didn't dare to ask, he was happy that his master had a clergy secretary. There is no mistake, his master is just too righteous and likes to talk about villains. He is a good person at heart. Other side. Gain hid in the darkness and watched the one-sided battle intently. The Death Knight was stronger than he thought, and Malias was weaker than he thought. The former was a difficult and powerful enemy, while the latter had other agendas and never showed his full strength. There is a delicate heart hidden under the rough appearance, and you almost figured it out. Gain shook his head. Marius's move was nothing more than tempting him and Juliet to take the initiative. A little scheming, but not much, since he and Juliet really don't care if Marius lives or dies. Better to be dead. Lundan said it was not big, there were only a few million people, and it was not enough for the three devils to divide it, so the Blood Tyrant's familiars could only leave early. Thinking of this, Gain slowly retreated and left the cemetery. Roar, roar, roar. In the field, Marius roared angrily. After a long battle, his teammates did not show up, so he scolded them. Seeing that the Styx was swallowed by death, the blood magic had no effect on the skeleton of the Death Knight. He simply stopped hiding his weakness, and his body swelled up. His broken arm healed by itself, and he turned into a 3-meter-tall humanoid beast. The body of the beast was covered with green scales, flashing blood-red light in the dim moonlight. Its sharp teeth and claws looked like a half-dragon. The spine spikes on its back extended downward, and it swung a thick crocodile tail. The image of the familiar is compared with the master, that is, its own beliefs. It can be seen that the blood tyrant is related to the dragon, at least a subspecies. Crocodile Man. Wayne was very disrespectful. He only knew that there were 2 dragon bloods, both in the Landau family, and the rest were either lizards or crocodiles. Geckos are also okay. He is open-minded and willing to accept other people's opinions. Marius roared, and 4 red rays of light burst out from behind him. Blood-colored crystals soared into the sky, spread out at a height of 100 meters, and then fell to the ground at a high speed. 4 blood-colored crystal pillars stood in the 4 corners of the southeast, northwest, and northeast. Wayne touched his chest, and the power of death seemed to be suppressed a little. The last time he experienced such a scene was in the forbidden magic area of the Capitol Hotel. But the barrier at the moment was obviously not, it should be the magic unique to the blood faith. Just thinking about it, the 4 pillars burst into red light, and the square hexagonal bodies were connected and formed, locking him and Marius at the same time. Roar, roar, roar. Malias's body swelled, and the surging blood and chi overflowed. His height jumped over 5 meters. His thick arms and long tail were enough for Wayne to ride Yulia on his horse. The overflowing blood and chi carried high-temperature heat waves and had the ability to pollute the surrounding blood. Because the opponent was a Death Knight, there was no flesh and blood on his body, and his ability could not be manifested. Marius gathered his blood and turned it into a red crystal armor, which he wore. His claws and fangs were surrounded by red light, like a sharp knife. His eyes were red, and his aura reached its peak. The red ripples spread out and rushed in all directions, oppressing the 4 elements to tremble, and Wayne couldn't help but feel a little pressure. The Book of Greed poked its head out and smelled a new delicacy. A new delicacy. Wayne's eyes lit up. The blood tyrant's familiar had other abilities. He was attentive. He would give a 5-star rating to this takeaway. The boss was still in the transformation stage. Wayne did not refer to the turn-based system. Only villains would wait for the transformation to end. He was a righteous man, and he played a character without chivalry and rode an undead warhorse into the portal. Hiss. The Shadow Nightmare slashed down, tearing the red crystal armor apart. The death aura drilled in through the gap and touched Marius's scales, which were instantly covered with a layer of gray. A thorn in the flesh, once it is attached to the bone, it cannot be shaken off. It is a foolish dream to use a layer of armor to separate it. Malias's eyes glowed red, and the energy collided, wiping off the death aura on his body. The huge claws fell down and whistled at Wayne and Yulia. The portal opened in time, and the undead warhorse brought Wayne to Malias's shoulder. The moment the forehooves fell, the shadow nightmare pierced down. The black eye burst, and the death aura was injected. One of Malias's eyeballs was corroded by death, and the death aura spread rapidly to the surrounding area like a toxin, and soon peeled off the scales and flesh, revealing the white bones around the eye sockets. The white bones cried out in pain, and the crocodile-like mouth opened, roaring blood and energy, and attacking the Death Knight who was close at hand. Looking at the bloody mouth in front of him, Wayne was eager to try, wanting to learn from that person to get into the other person's stomach and dance. After thinking about it, forget it, if it gets stuck in the throat, it will be fun. The shadow nightmare shone with white light, splitting the blood-colored energy. The tattered cloak danced with 8 grey tentacles, drilling into Marius' eyes, ears, and nose, and injected into his brain, leaving this muscular head empty. The hexagonal barrier did not dissipate. Seeing this, Wayne waved the death tentacles again. At this moment, the space inside the hexagonal barrier suddenly solidified, and the blood solidified into a solid, sealing all the things inside. 6 red chains spread along the hexagonal barrier, entwining and sealing layer by layer. The barrier seal has its own space inside, and the hexagonal barrier shrinks to the size of a fist and falls to the ground, like a crystal heart, pulsating red light. Marius jumped out of the barrier, picked up the hexagon and held it in his hand. At this time, he was 2 meters tall, still looking like a crocodile man, but his bloated and sturdy limbs shrunk in proportion, and his streamlined body was more powerful and beautiful. "I got you." Marius was not surprised to take down the Death Knight single-handedly. The power of the Death Knight was already scattered, and the new knight had just come into contact with the Shadow Nightmare. He didn't need a cowardly teammate, and he could defeat it by himself. The seal given by the monarch cannot be escaped even by the demon king of the same level as him. It's a bit of a waste to seal you. Marius held the hexagon tightly. The Devil Alliance spent a huge price to send the 3 familiars to the human world, delaying the opening of the gate of hell above the underground tomb. Because of the huge cost, the number and strength of the teleported familiars were limited. Marius's master, the Blood Tyrant, took the opportunity to operate, and did not send all of Marius's power to the human world. The vacant part was used to cover the hexagonal seal. No, the Blood Tyrant had other plans. He was not satisfied with the Death Knight shared by the Alliance and wanted to control it alone. He gave the hexagon to Marius, asking him to seal the new Death Knight, so that he could start a new business in London and build a large underground tomb and the gate to hell. It can only be said that the hell is simple and pure, and any devil picked out has 100 tricks. Even the Blood Tyrant who is good at muscles, his servant Marius is the same as him, looking brainless, but actually full of tricks. Ha ha ha. Seal the Death Knight and complete the master's task. Marius couldn't help laughing out loud. Crack. Marius's laughter stopped abruptly, and he was shocked to find that the hexagon in his hand had cracked, and wisps of death were spreading from it. He couldn't help but feel numb on his scalp, and hurriedly threw the hexagon out. The hexagon fell to the ground and exploded, and the roaring death rushed out fiercely, and the grey tentacles danced wildly, ravaging the space and twisting it together. In the center of the grey mist, Marius' eyes flashed, and he seemed to see a huge magic eye. When he looked carefully, the magic eye disappeared, and the surging death energy attacked, knocking him over on the spot and smashing him dozens of meters away. The tombstones collapsed one after another, and the knocking on the door woke up the sleeping owner. They climbed out of the coffin one after another, opened their mouths and made silent accusations. Blood crystals continued to peel off from Malice's body, expelling the death energy in his body bit by bit. Muscle scales grew on his skeletal body, and he watched in horror as the undead warhorse jumped out of the portal. This is impossible. Malice was horrified, and for the first time in the world, he smelled the smell of death. He remembered clearly that when the monarch gave the hexagon, he said that it was impossible to escape the seal without the monarch's level of strength. In other words, the fighting Death Knight had the same level of power as his master. In fact, there is another way to escape from the hexagonal barrier, and Malice used this method to leave. The barrier only locks enemies, not your own people, and you can get out by using blood faith. The truth was right in front of him, but in a blind spot. Marius could not think of it no matter how hard he tried. His mind was full of intermittent thoughts such as the enemy was powerful, invincible, and intelligence errors. I thought it was a crocodile man, but it turned out to be a lizard man. Wayne rode on the undead warhorse and secretly said that it was bad luck. If he hadn't known several foreign languages, he would have been locked up just now. His escape from the hexagonal seal had nothing to do with the blood faith. It was all thanks to the power of the 7 deadly sins divine comedy. He used the power of hell to fight hell. After trying it, it really came out. Marius had no intention of fighting. He raised his arms, roared, and turned around and ran. The streamlined body was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was 100 meters away. However, the undead warhorse had its own portal, and no matter how fast it ran, it couldn't open the door. Wayne intercepted Marius with a sword, and the shadow nightmare passed through the light of the waning moon and cut off one of his arms again. Marius's fear increased, and he called for help, shouting out the names of Gain and Juliet. In an instant, Wayne's murderous intent surged, and his long sword pierced into Malice's chest. 8 grey death tentacles entangled and consumed Malice's thoughts. The Book of Greed hurriedly reminded him to leave the demon under the sword, as there was still something to eat. Wayne restrained the death energy, and the upper and lower jaws of the empty skeleton opened, spraying a ball of white foam at Malice's head. The white foam drilled into the flesh and took root in the bones, chasing Malice's thoughts and whispering in a headache-inducing whisper. Malice didn't understand, but felt it was particularly noisy. Realizing that his thoughts were being polluted, he resisted frantically. At the same time, facing the invasion of death energy, his vitality collapsed, and his thoughts were also wiped out by death. Malice suffered a lot under the attack from both sides, and this process lasted for 10 minutes. Malice's thoughts were exhausted, his body was corrupted, and his bones were preserved by Wayne, who let the skeleton soldiers carry them into the coffin to be trained as elite soldiers. Wayne sent a thought command to let Aubin and Abio leave. At the end of the sewer, Wayne sent away the shadow nightmare and stood there in disheveled clothes. There was also a lip print on the collar. It was printed by the high priest. Her possessiveness was also very strong. She was late for 20 years and almost drowned Wayne with one blow. On the ground, Bamo stretched out 4 tentacles, stepped to Wayne's feet, and drilled into it by attaching to his skin. Wayne frowned and sensed it. There was a little faith in blood, because Marius's thoughts were dissipated by the dead air, and the relics were not rich. He sensed the new delicacy that the Book of Greed was craving, and waved his right fist towards the air. With a crackling sound, the airflow and white mist exploded, and the wind wall rolled over the wall of the sewer, peeling off large pieces of dust and debris. The unknown taste seemed to strengthen his power, but it did not show on the Book of Greed. There were still as many small eyeballs as before. The Book of Greed only has a gluttonous mouth, which can eat but not talk. Wayne is curious about the reason for the enhancement, but he can't find the manual and can only give up. There are 2 more familiars. Try to eat them when the time comes. You will gain experience after eating them a few more times. Master. Mona came to the end of the sewer and shook her head slightly at Wayne. She received the telepathic voice and waited for a while in the cemetery according to Wayne's order, but did not find any trace of the devil. Gain and Juliet, I tortured Marius's mind. There are two other devils, or familiars to be precise. They are in London. Let Gunther investigate and see if they can find these two names, Wayne ordered. Mona nodded and saw the lip print on Wayne's collar. She learned a new skill and decided to try it another day. Wait a minute. Wayne raised his hand to stop him. Three familiars came for the Death Knight. Don't mention my existence. Just say that you and I passed by the cemetery and happened to witness this scene. Master, the Archbishop will be curious about why we passed by the cemetery at night. Just say we are on a date. I like the night and the wild. Mona nodded seriously. Although there was something wrong, she didn't care about the angel master who was willing to defile himself in order to fight the devil. Also, let Gunther contact the Ministry of Magic. Halfway through his words, Wayne shook his head. Forget it, I'll handle this matter. Let Gunther keep a low profile and investigate secretly as if he knows nothing. Master, won't you go to the cathedral with me? No, those two devils are good at hiding, and the cathedral is too ostentatious. I don't want to be exposed. Wayne thought it was tricky. If the devil can descend once to the familiar, he can descend a second time. He doesn't care. He is afraid that London can't stand it. Can't stand the temptation of the devil. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 209. Landau Manor, Study. Megan stood at the door as usual, setting up a soundproof barrier. In the study room, the Austen ancient silver coin never left his hand. Before Wayne could speak, he said bluntly, I happen to have something to ask you, so I'll tell you first. Let me talk first. The situation here is more important. Wayne prides himself on being humble, especially when facing elders. Austen is an exception. He rushed ahead and said, Today I went to work in the detective agency and found someone washing the floor at the door. After asking about it, I found out that down across the street there was a death in the detective agency last night. Dawn Detective Agency. Austen keenly captured the key point and pondered, Dawn Detective Agency is related to the belief in death. It is the masterpiece of the Death Knight. Who dares to cause trouble on his grave? That's what I thought at the time, so I asked my secretary Mona to go over and inquire about it. Guess what, something really happened. Wayne lowered his voice. Although Mona didn't find out anything, she is a clergyman and smelled the smell of hell around the Dawn Detective Agency. She swore to tell me that there was another demon invasion in London. It's really troublesome. Who says it isn't? Wayne sighed. On the surface, I am Mona's boss. Privately, she is the Vatican's spy around me. She occasionally provides me with some information about the devil. Several coincidences in the past made the Vatican mistakenly think that he's a good man. He sent the information again. The misunderstanding is quite big, Austen commented. Wayne rolled his eyes, not bothering to quibble, and continued, according to Mona, a conflict broke out between the devil and the Death Church, and the target was the Death Knight. They will use London as their arena, and I'm afraid they will make a big fuss. So, isn't it good for dog to bite dog? Wayne was speechless. If he wasn't the Death Knight, dog eat dog would be awesome indeed. I understand what you mean. No matter the devil or the Death Knight, they are not good friends. Please inform the Ministry of Magic as soon as possible to avoid accidents, right? Austen said. No, I don't really trust the Ministry of Magic, especially the legendary mages. If they knew there was a living devil in London, they would probably be the first to rush over. Wayne spread his hands. Orb is the best example. Legend the mages are really capable. It depends on what kind of devil you are. Legendary mages are very selective. Not all devils will do. Austin played with the ancient silver coins. Magicians have different levels, and devils have higher and lower statuses in hell. They all hope to be with those in power. Cooperate. Let's take Orb as an example. As long as one of the 7 demon kings is willing to cooperate with Orb, there will be nothing to do with the thousand-eyed demon. I understand the truth, but they are devils after all. They represent hell and are best at deceiving people, and the legendary mage's position is not very firm. Wayne expressed his worries euphemistically. Ordinary devils are not scary, nor are individual legendary mage scary, but together they are very scary, and their lethality is far more than just 1+1. I will inform the minister. Austin gave an answer, glanced at Wayne again, and reminded, no one likes the devil. You, me, the minister, including those legendary mages, everyone hates the devil, but this is the world, and the most terrifying thing in the world is not devil, they are outsiders after all. Is the Holy Father's church more terrifying? Don't act stupid, the scariest thing is the human heart. Austin sighed, you have investigated the Snow family, and you should be able to see that in order to curb the Holy See, the Ministry of Magic is happy to cooperate with the devil. At best, it was the Ministry of Magic, and to put it bluntly, it was the royal family. Austin knew that Wayne would understand, so he would not point it out. Save some face for the Queen. Besides cooperating with the devil, the Ministry of Magic has no other option, Wayne complained speechlessly. There are many methods, such as oblivion, star realm, belief in gods, etc. The Ministry of Magic has many subordinate research departments. The dragon blood modified body you encountered before is one of them. In comparison, the proportion of devils is not large. The proportion is small, but the effect is quick and the harvest is huge. It is the Ministry of Magic's trump card against the Holy See, right? Yes. X2. Austin, how do you think the Queen will deal with the devil in London? Then it depends on the devil. The topic returned to the beginning, and Wayne was helpless. The blood tyrant has a place in hell. Although he is not the devil, he is ranked high. The other 2 devils who came together with his familiars are most likely also familiars. The master's status in hell is not much worse than that of the blood tyrant. The 7 demon kings are joking and taking a bath every day. The strategic value of top-ranked demons such as the blood tyrant has soared. The Ministry of Magic will definitely not be able to withstand their temptation. This is what Wayne is most worried about, and he angrily said, how can we build a good country with these insects? What, you still want to imitate the Franks? Austin smiled, Frank's magical world is far more corrupt than Windsor. You may feel disgusted, but you can't deny that the magical world has maintained the order of this country. From a long-term perspective, the Ministry of Magic's merits outweigh its faults. From a long-term perspective, the Ministry of Magic has been patching things up, and there are more and more conflicts. There will be an explosion, and then there will be nothing. Yeah, that's history. Austin nodded, then what do you think the Ministry of Magic should do? Disband it where it is, let the power of faith rule Windsor, and return to the original era when demons were dancing wildly. E=O*. Wayne sighed, history is reality, reality is too damn realistic. Wayne, if you don't have the ability to take responsibility, don't worry about it and just do your job as your heir honestly. Do you understand? Well, tonight I will go find Veronica, shoulder the responsibility of the heir, spread the branches and leaves of the Landau family, and strive to have at least 1 child a year. Austin's old face elated, and after a while he said, it's the birthday of Financial City Mayor Angelo in 2 days. You and I are going to the banquet. Remember, it's someone else's birthday banquet. You and I are guests, not the protagonists, no matter what, keep your mouth shut. Can I bring my secretary? Only I can. Austin showed off his majesty as the head of the family, and then joked, "I remember that January 11th is your birthday, and there are still 5 days left. Aren't you going to do something?" "Forget it, just celebrate it casually, I'm not interested in my birthday." Wayne shook his head. January 11th was the birthday stated on his ID card. Considering his status as a double agent, this birthday was probably fake, but it would still be the same. Besides, sailing a ship is not easy, and if a ship collision triggers a chain reaction, the gain outweighs the loss. Austin looked at Wayne with interest, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he was going to invite several women to his home for a dinner on the evening of the 11th. The location is the young master's villa, a private gathering, which will definitely be interesting. January 8th. London North District. A high society dinner was held in a luxurious manner. The sunset was still lingering, and a light mist appeared in the air. The night had not yet fallen, and the bright lights had already illuminated this magnificent venue. Passing through the gate of the manor, you will see a well-tended garden with elegant sculptures scattered throughout, guarding tranquility and beauty. In the distance, at the end of the manor is a maze of evergreens trimmed with dim lighting, perfect for a secret gathering of lovers. Entering the banquet hall, the crystal chandeliers are connected in a line on the roof. The soft light falling down reflects the luxurious furnishings, creating a romantic light and shadow in the magnificent space. On the buffet table, exquisite silverware is neatly arranged, serving a variety of delicacies. The guests were dressed in gorgeous dresses and were chatting happily. The laughter and music were intertwined, an elegant melody was everywhere. The owner of the manor, Mayor Angelo, tried his best to create a romantic atmosphere. To this end, he laid a lot of flower petals on the carpet and invited a music group to perform live. However, the exquisite murals on the walls of the hall, as well as the well-documented various ornaments, still deeply betrayed Angelo. His artistic content was average, he was not a long-established nobleman of the official Miziki, and he did not have much background to speak of. This is indeed the case. According to Alston, the election of the mayor of the financial city this time has extremely complex interest groups involved behind it. The father and son walked through the door, Meghan following closely behind, and soon saw Mayor Angelo. A slightly rich middle-aged man, he dresses meticulously and only pays attention to the matching of clothes. He has a very retro taste. "Austin, I'm so happy to see you tonight." Angelo smiled and stretched out his hand to shake Austin's hand. He focused his eyes on Wayne and praised, as expected of the heir to the Landau family, "I see your shadow in him." Then, there were some words of praise, like a tiger father has no dog son, like father, like son, and there are successors to the Landau family. Wayne smiled and didn't refute, and Austin didn't explain anything. Just leave it like that, no one will believe it anyway. X2. Alston has a strong position in London. He is a re-elected former mayor of the financial city. He can rely on hundreds of millions of people wherever he goes. He leads Wayne everywhere to brush his face, and he is praised endlessly. In addition to compliments, some aristocratic ladies also asked Wayne for his autograph and refused to let go when shaking hands, once again proving the influence of the King Kong movie. Wayne smiled throughout, without triggering the first love mechanism, and acted very gentlemanly. The host of the dinner was Angelo. Austin didn't want to overshadow the guest, so he took Wayne for a walk and then came to the corner with him holding wine glasses. After a while, there was a commotion in the crowd. Wayne poked his head curiously, it seemed like someone big had arrived. He had good eyesight, and through the crowd he saw a blonde figure in a white suit, good-looking, and very well educated in his words and deeds. He is Prince Edward, the Queen's eldest son, and he is about the same age as you, Austin reminded. Want to go over and get acquainted? No, our only loyal partner is the Queen, and it's not his turn yet. Got it? Edward chatted and laughed happily with the surrounding aristocratic businessmen. He was neither overly intimate nor alienated. He had a good sense of proportion and made people feel good about him. The nobles and wealthy businessmen did not dare to disturb the prince's elegance, and after a few words of conversation, they left voluntarily. After a while, only young women of the right age were left with the prince. After all, he is a prince, and even though he is engaged, his charm remains the same. After dealing with the noble lady, Edward came to the corner with red wine. When he saw Landau and his son, his eyes immediately lit up. Austen raised his glass and stepped forward, smiling and chatting with Edward. They only talked about business and nothing else, which made Edward quite depressed. Wayne listened on the sidelines and realized that the prince had his own business in the business field, investing in securities companies and an auction house. After the establishment of the constitutional monarchy, the royal family retreated behind the scenes and handed over their power to the government. However, members of the royal family still have to attend major occasions such as diplomacy, and government funding is considered the daily work of the royal family. Important occasions do not happen every day. The Queen encourages members of the royal family to go out and find jobs instead of squatting at home all day sucking the blood of taxpayers. Edward followed his mother's orders and stepped into the financial field. They say they are investing in starting a business, but in reality they are experiencing life, labeling themselves a successful person, and proving to the outside world that they are not a waste sitting at home. Austen chatted with Edward for a few words, but his enthusiasm was not high. Edward understood what he meant and started communicating with Wayne. Austen only brought Wayne to appear in public, and this was the only heir in the Landau family. In addition, they were similar in age, so Edward believed that the two of them would have something in common. So, we talked about finance. X2. When you meet an opponent in chess, you will meet a good talent, and you can chat to death in just 2 sentences. Austen stood aside with an expressionless face and almost laughed out loud. He politely raised his glass to cover up the corners of his mouth and took Meghan to another corner. Wayne and Edward stared at each other and resumed the conversation. X2. This is a waste, he doesn't understand finance at all. X2. I can't say that I don't understand anything, I can only say that I don't understand much, I don't have much ink in my stomach, it's just some crooked ways. Edward's financial operations stem from his status. He has first-hand information and can make money wherever he goes. Wayne's operations stem from God's perspective. He knows what will be popular and what will definitely make a lot of money. They also skipped the most difficult early stage of entrepreneurship and each stood on the shoulders of giants, making it difficult for them to lose. Realizing that the person opposite him was the same person as him, the two immediately had a common topic. Due to the difficulty of revealing their respective identities, they winked and left the banquet hall. There was no one around, so Edward took the lead in testing. Wayne, what do you think of the second young lady of the Goss family? Who is that? The one with the best body. Oh, it's really fierce. After the temptation is over, you are right. Edward raised his wine glass, clinked it with Wayne's orange juice, and said happily, I didn't expect that the heir of the Landau family is an idiot. Austen is really amazing, being able to hide the identity of your illegitimate son for so long. I didn't expect that the prince looked at elegance, but in fact he only looked at elegance. You misunderstood. As a prince, I am still young and cannot show too much ability. This is a cover-up. Do you understand the royal family? The same goes for me. In fact, I have a good business sense. I design the most popular stockings on the market. What, it's you? Edward was so shocked that he confirmed it several times and patted Wayne hard on the shoulder. You understand men so well, I'll be ruined by you. The more the two chatted, the more speculative they became. Starting from stockings, they talked about a lot of nonsense, but nothing serious. Facts have proved that the prince is very smart. He put all his wisdom on the wrong path, so he seems to be a straw bag. I heard that you set up an investigation team some time ago and went to Northern Ireland to investigate the Snow family. Edward looked envious. I can't help it. My Majesty prefers Elizabeth. She made Elizabeth the leader of the investigation team of the Patino family. I can only watch her. Wayne didn't answer, he just hummed and pretended he didn't hear. At this time, Mayor Angelo came and invited Edward to enter. Accompanying Angelo is a dark-haired beauty with a tall figure, cold makeup, and a charming and enchanting figure that makes people's hearts beat. Edward's eyes lit up, and he asked the beauty's name. He learned that she was a distant relative of Angelo, named Zyand, and he immediately became attentive. Xiangda has a cold temperament and is not enthusiastic about the prince's attentiveness. Due to the elder Angelo in the family, he can barely cope with it. What a licking dog. Wayne took the orange juice and left silently. If I remember correctly, Prince Edward had a fiancée. Bah, scumbag. He already has a fiancée and is still hooking up with others. Unlike him, he is alone and is still single. Angelo, who was in charge of pimping, winked desperately at Xander, who had no choice but to smile at Edward. In an instant, the icebergs melted, spring came, and it was time for animals to mate again. No, spring is here, and it's the season of recovery for all things. Edward was slightly disturbed and noticed Angelo's eyes. He was very satisfied with his arrangement and warmly invited Xander to explore the maze behind the manor. Xiangda took out his hand from being squeezed and said that he was too drunk and would not let the prince down next time. As he spoke, he swayed away. Gudu, X2. Why two sounds? Edward turned around in confusion and didn't see Wayne. It could only be Angelo. He gave her a scornful look and said gentlemanly, Angelo, where is Miss Shanda from? Cheshire, I went to college in Gianhi County. I saw her wandering around alone. I was afraid that she would be in danger, so I brought her to London to take care of her. Angelo sighed, this child has to be strong since he was a child. He can learn painting and sculpture, currently working in an art gallery. She is very talented, she just needs an opportunity. Which art museum? This is the business card. Angelo handed over the art museum's business card, and very thoughtfully included the address and phone number of Xiang department. Prince Edward, Xiangda has had no mother since he was a child, and lost his father early. He devoted all his passion to the field of art, so he is very indifferent to others. I hope you won't be angry. Just call me Edward. Don't worry, if she is really talented, I will give her a chance. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 210. The black limousine returned to Landau Manor. Austin played with the ancient silver coins and asked sideways, what did you and the prince talk about? We talked about everything from astronomy, geography, chemistry, physics, mathematics, biology, and local customs. Wayne looked embarrassed. Although I have never met Princess Elizabeth, the prince proved to me that the queen has good taste and the princess is an excellent heir. Austin laughed out loud, and then criticized, don't judge the royal family members without authorization. The Tulip family is a knight. Have you ever seen a knight comment on a monarch? Not to mention, I've seen knights collide with monarchs before. Wayne expressed that he had learned a lesson and cheerfully told the scene of Mayor Angelo pimping the prince, that woman is very beautiful and has a good figure. The key is that she understands men very well. She has been trying to seduce the prince. No accident. If so, the prince will have a lover. Angelo shouldn't have done this. Austin shook his head. He knew that Angelo was ambitious and wanted to make progress too much. He was unwilling to be a puppet at the mercy of others. However, Angelo should not have taken action against the prince. If a royal scandal caused a royal scandal, the only one who would be unlucky was Angelo. However, what does this have to do with him? Just wait and see the fun. Austin closed his eyes and took a nap while playing with the ancient silver coins. He didn't say a word and didn't know what he was thinking. Wayne frowned and looked out the window. The two devils were deeply hidden and disappeared into London. They were clearly here for the Death Knight, but they didn't care about the mission at all. Obviously, the opponent is holding back his ultimate move. On Mona's side, Archbishop Gunther did not find any information about Gain and Juliet. There were no such names among the devils in hell, so they were judged to be familiars. Familiar is also scary. The news was conveyed to the Papal States, and the reply was crisp and clear. There was a reincarnated angel in London and a Golden Rule Bible. It was not a big problem. The problem is too big. He has read the Golden Rule Bible. Where is the reincarnated angel? Wayne couldn't complain, but he couldn't fish in water. He had been secretly investigating the devil for the past 2 days and was so busy that he didn't even have time to write a diary. On the night of Mayor Angelo's banquet, there was thick fog and no vehicles or pedestrians on the streets of London, far away from the North District. A figure walked quietly on the road, the light lengthened his shadow, and strange fluctuations flashed occasionally. Gain. Gain closed his eyes to sense, looking for the source of the foggy field. The foggy realm is a type of gray space. The areas where the fog spreads are all realms. The realms are filled with ghosts and magical creatures, which appear or disappear with the fog, making them very mysterious. Gain is very convinced that the arrival of the foggy realm has already merged with London. Until the foggy realm disappears completely, London's nights will always be accompanied by heavy fog. But it was sealed. Not being able to see the river of blood, the familiar was deeply disappointed. He was not sure who sealed it. It might be the Holy See or the royal family. According to his plan, he should approach a member of the royal family in the next 2 days, infiltrate the Ministry of Magic through him, and then use the Ministry of Magic to eradicate the Death Knight. During the implementation process, he encountered some minor troubles. The princess named Elizabeth is surrounded by 2 knights who are proficient in the faith of the Holy Light. The princess herself is also imposed with a powerful spiritual barrier. Princesses are like this, and it is probably the same for princes, queens, and other royal members. Approaching rashly will only expose yourself. Gain wants to create some chaos through the mist realm, and it is best to control the seal in his own hands. Once he controls the fog in London, he will be the king of London at night, and the master's task is basically half completed. After walking for half an hour, a church-style orphanage appeared in front of Gain. It has stained glass similar to that of a church, and its towering spire points straight to the sky, as if praying to Heavenly Father for protection. As a devil, Gain instinctively showed his disgust, took out a white handkerchief to cover his mouth and nose, and passed through the wall like a translucent body to the backyard of the orphanage. This is a welfare home for orphans. Its appearance is similar to that of a church, but Gain couldn't hide it from his eyes and easily found several traces of black magic. In addition to the alchemy of hell, there is also the belief in holy light, sun, moonlight, darkness. Gain analyzed what he saw and found that such a complicated sealing technique was definitely not a single force, and he guessed that it was done by a free mage from the Ministry of Magic. As for the core strength, these are just auxiliary, not the backbone. Gain pondered hard and realized that the mist field covering London was extremely huge. It was obvious how strong the core energy of the seal was. The messy faith seal was only a patchwork on the edges, and its core position was the key. Moreover, there should have been an outbreak in the mist realm some time ago, and it was suppressed again by the powerful core. No, not necessarily the core. It's getting more complicated. The more Gain watched, the more frightened he became. The water in London was deeper than he imagined. He restrained his contemptuous attitude and felt lucky for his previous caution. Mark a place first and take a look before talking. A red-eyed crow emerged from Gain's sleeve, flapping its wings and landing on the wall. Its scarlet eyes emitted a bloodthirsty light, hiding in the thick fog as if invisible. Snap! With a crisp sound, the crow exploded on the spot, and blood and black feathers splashed in all directions. Gai Yin was startled, and calmly turned around and looked into the depths of the yard. What he saw was a figure in a straight suit, and the famous watch on his wrist was extremely eye-catching. The face of the mysterious man is shrouded in black mist, and his scarlet eyes look like a devil. Gain tried to see the other party's appearance clearly, his vision penetrated the thick black fog, and he was hit back by black electricity with a roar. "Who are you? I should say this, who are you?" The mysterious man stepped out, and the black tide slowly spread out, like a barrier in the dark domain, covering Gain. Gain's body collapsed, and hundreds of crows flapped their wings and flew away, rushing into the night sky and disappearing without a trace. The next moment, these crows regrouped in the sky, and Gain was suspended in the air, overlooking the city of lights shrouded in fog. The power of hell, but not the devil, where did he get the knowledge from? Gain was full of doubts and gave up the pursuit of the foggy domain. This territory already had an owner, and forcing it would only result in a bloody head. At this time, he completely let go of his contempt. There were too many mysteries hidden in the world, and even if he had the powerful power given by the master, he had to be extremely cautious. "Marius, you died of arrogance." Suddenly, Gain's eyes were trance. The city under his feet disappeared, and he stood in the backyard of the welfare home, with no one around, as if what had just happened was an illusion. Snap! With a crisp sound, the crow on the wall exploded on the spot. Gain's eyes shrank suddenly, and he looked into the depths of the yard. The mysterious man appeared again, and the scene was exactly the same as before. "You. I should say this, who are you?" The black tide spread, and Gain turned into a crow again and walked away. Half a minute later, he fell from the sky to the ground, and the crow not far away exploded on the wall. Gain's scalp was numb, his mind could not see through the illusion, nor could it break the cycle. The mysterious man's power was far above him. Roar, roar, roar. Gain threw down the civilized stick in his hand, his body changed, the black snake-necked crow spread its wings, rolled up the dark storm and rushed straight into the sky. This strange bird swelled up in the wind, flapped its wings 3 times, and its wingspan reached 300 meters. The black storm was accompanied by it, and the terrifying aura was powerful and terrifying. It rushed around in the sky, as if it had sensed the boundary of the cycle, and launched a violent attack like crazy. For a moment, a storm swept across the night sky of London, and the rumbling airflow pressed the fog to the ground. The camera returned to the welfare home. Gain stood there with empty eyes, his face was hideous, and he let out a low roar from his throat. The mysterious man walked to Gain, kicked him to the ground, unbuttoned his suit, and took out a scalpel from the lining. "A complete familiar, such precious materials are rare, I made a profit tonight." The mysterious man was overjoyed and dissected Gain's body on the spot. While working, he talked to Gain, "Who is your master?" "The great hell demon, the lord of the night." Gain replied unconsciously, his mind was trapped in a cycle, rushing around but unable to break away. "See Tolas." The mysterious man nodded. According to the well-documented hell canon, he is indeed a powerful devil. Apart from the 7 great devils, Tolas ranks very high and is qualified to call himself a devil. The mysterious man shook his body and split into 3 clones, each holding a scalpel to speed up the dissection efficiency. "What are you doing in London? How did you get here?" "To kill the Death Knight, I took a plane." The mysterious man scratched his head and almost cut himself. He shook his head and said, "You are not the opponent of the Death Knight, even if you can borrow the power of the devil. The Death Knight is not complete." "Oh, there is such a saying." Under the urging of the mysterious man, Gain slowly said, "The Death Knight is divided into 2. The one in the underground tomb of Paris is controlled by my master. London has a new Death Knight. He has just appeared and his power has not yet reached its peak. The Death Knight took away the sealed book, my master. The three familiars who descended, Marius is dead. I am looking for the source of the mist field. The operation lasted for 2 hours. Gain had already explained everything. The mysterious man was still unsatisfied and put away the scalpel. He sutured Gain's wound with evil taste. It turns out that the obelisk was taken away by the Death Knight. No wonder it has not been found. 2 Death Knights, this is really interesting. Even more interesting is hell. The powerful demons formed an alliance to pull one of the 7 demon kings off the altar. The mysterious man became more and more excited as he spoke, and he wished he could personally participate in it and enjoy this feast up close. It's a pity that I can't enjoy it. The mysterious man sighed with regret, and didn't know what he thought of. He sewed the book of hell into Gain's body. Where is Juliet? I am also interested in her body structure. Can you find her? I don't know. I haven't seen her since we parted. What a pity. The mysterious man patted Gain's shoulder and whispered in his ear, please help me. There are many beliefs of hell in London, and even containers for the 7 demon kings to descend. Help me steal them. After the matter is done, I will give you freedom. Gain nodded woodenly, not understanding what rejection is. Also, I have a list here, help me test their strength. The mysterious man whispered, the legendary wizard Celeste of the Ministry of Magic, he knows too much about the Holy Light Faith, I suspect he is an undercover of the Heavenly Father Church. The legendary wizard Plank of the Ministry of Magic, this guy has been mysterious recently, I don't know what secrets he is hiding. The legendary wizard Bon of the Ministry of Magic, he has been studying the star beast for a long time, if possible, bring me his experimental report. According to the principle of using it to the death, the mysterious man is definitely a native of Windsor. Finally, there is Austin Landau from the Ministry of Magic. This guy is very dangerous. He has 3 dragons at home, one of which is very dangerous. Remember, avoid these 3 dragons. I just want to know how strong Austin is. And his ancient silver coin, which is said to be a religious object of the goddess of death. Also, if it's not too much trouble, Austin's son is also very interesting. God knows how Orb died. Bring him here to me. Gain looked confused, there were too many mission targets. Well, I'm a little tired, but I believe you won't let me down. The mysterious man patted Gain on the shoulder and said sympathetically, let's start with the container of the 7 demon kings. I know where they are hiding. Be careful. The royal family's holy light knights are stationed there. The leader of the group is very capable of beating. As for the mission of the demon god Citras, don't rush it for now. Let's hold it back for a while. If you can't do it, Juliet will definitely be able to do it. Unknowingly, the mysterious man persuaded Gain and whispered seductively in the devil's ear, your talent is very powerful. You have been wronged by following Citras. Do it well. If you can complete all the tasks, I will give you a favor the great Lord of Arrogance recommends you. As Gain's breathing became heavier and he only listened to the Lord of Arrogance, his master, the demon Sato, was not so fragrant. Go ahead and do it and show off all your talents. The cold wind blew past the door, and Gain couldn't help but shiver. By the time he came to his senses, the mysterious man had already left, and he seemed to have forgotten the mysterious man. He glanced at the crow on the wall and took it back out of caution. There are many tasks given by the master. I don't have much time to study the mist field. I must first find the container of the 7 demon kings and control this trump card before I can complete other tasks. Gain secretly thought it was a fluke, but fortunately he woke up in time, otherwise he and Malias would end up being killed by the Death Knight. The hazy full moon hung in the night sky, and Gaines' translucent body passed through the wall and disappeared into the thick fog. Following the information, he went to the hiding place of the container of the 7 Demon Kings. Time flies around to January 11th, Wayne's birthday. He didn't send out invitations, intending to keep a low profile and fool him, but he didn't want to think about it, which didn't mean others didn't care. For example, the housekeeper Fula took out the gifts in the morning. A gold pen. The thoughts of Fula and the 4 maids. Wayne couldn't refuse, so he accepted it with a smile. After the 4 maids left, he pulled Fula and said, "Didn't you say no? You didn't secretly prepare a surprise for me, right?" Wayne was a little panicked. As the person closest to him, Fula knew him very well, especially his birthday. Fula knew everything about it. "Master, there is no birthday party tonight. The gift just represents our personal feelings." Fula's monocle flashed. A light worth trusting. Fula knew exactly why Wayne was panicking. Time can be managed, but time will not be manipulated. Scumbags who try to play with time will inevitably receive retribution. It's not a birthday, it's Good Friday. As a professional butler, Fula would only feel sorry for the master. He reassured Wayne that everything would be calm tonight and there would be no shock. Wayne was relieved. No one called home, right? There is a call from Moonlight Church. The high priest's assistant, Miss Verna, one of the twins, asked you if you have any arrangements tonight. Fula replied. Wayne's heart tightened. The high priest found out his birthday, and he was afraid that he would have to go to the dragon's den and the tiger's den tonight. I replied to Miss Verna. Because of your identity as the illegitimate son of the Landau family, the birthday on the certificate is false. Fula said calmly. Well done. Wayne patted Fula on the shoulder. This is called professionalism. With Fula here, the boat can still be connected without the iron rope. This is sure. Just in case, Wayne asked Chris for leave 2 days ago. The reason was exactly the same as that used by Furlaw. He had an illegitimate child and a fake birthday. He couldn't waste a gift. Wayne opened his fingers and calculated. Without these 2 troublemakers, he would go to Landau Manor for dinner tonight, receive 3 or 4 gifts, and his birthday would pass without incident. Yes, and very likely, because of her birthday, Veronica's progress bar can be refreshed. After days of searching the devil and finding nothing, Wayne decided to relax with a big meal tonight. Just treat yourself as a reward. 5 o'clock in the evening, Landau Manor. Wayne was wandering around the big house, passing by the restaurant and peeking his head in, and was surprised to find that there was no banquet tonight. It was my birthday, and the teacher didn't prepare anything. Could it be that she was too busy at work and forgot about me? Wayne raised his hand and touched his chin, feeling something was wrong. In the corner, Monica's figure flashed past. Wayne's eyes lit up, he walked as fast as flying, and ran after him. Soon, he blocked the black cat with fried hair in the corner. Taking advantage of its rough skin and thick flesh, he forcibly held the cat in his arms and started stroking it. Monica, lifted high. Why are you still here? Austin appeared with a smile on his face. I remember today is your birthday. Is it really appropriate that you, the master, are not here? Am I not already there? Wayne said depressedly, I went to the restaurant to see it, but there was nothing prepared. The teacher must have been too busy with work and forgot my birthday. No, Sci-fi prepared birthday gifts 2 days ago. She took leave today and didn't go to work. She has been decorating the venue. She knows you don't care and wants to give you a surprise. Austin pointed around and said with a smile, look, even Megan was borrowed by her. Really, Megan, who was inseparable from him, was not with Austin. Wayne was surprised. Where is the venue? Why didn't I see it? Not to mention the venue, there was no one there. In your villa, I invited a few friends for you in your name. Wayne Sigma, winky face, what, What friends? The ones who booked the cinema, who else could it be? Austin looked puzzled. Why are you sweating? I remember you said that you don't have many friends, because by coincidence, they are all female friends. Am I wrong? Asshole, I will kill you sooner or later. Wayne was furious, leaving Monica behind and turned around. It's too late to run now. Austin happily picked up the second-hand goods and started to play with them. Standing by the window, he sighed, they carefully prepared gifts for you. Each one represents a heart. You must not let them down. I'll kill you now. Wayne stepped forward and kicked at Austin's lower back. He missed. He landed on the ground and looked up to see Austin waving at him with his cat's paw. He cursed inwardly and walked towards the young master's villa with a heroic expression.